Okay, test. Okay, capture looks good. Audio looks okay. Oh, 1 second. Sorry for the slight interruption here. Just want to make sure I can see everybody in chat okay. Hey, Zarya, good to see you. How you doing? Thank you so much for stopping by. That cough is still there. I'm almost through. Hello. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better. That sounded like an awful lot to deal with. Very exhausting, especially if it's a chronic thing. So hopefully you got a little bit of a chance to rest and recuperate a bit. Yeah, I'm doing great, thank you. It started to get really hot over here really fast. For me, who is like a cold weather person, 80 degrees is insufferable, and it's climbing. So I'm just kind of recalibrating and got to put away all my cool jackets for the season. But I'll survive somehow. Really, I'm just whining. But yeah, I do tend to prefer the cold weather, and so does my dog. She's like very upset. She goes outside, she immediately wants to come back inside. Super grumpy about the weather and all that. But it's cool. I've been taking her to the beach and stuff like that, so getting her a chance to cool down. Okay, so get started in just a second here. Hope everybody has had a great week since the last stream. Let's see where to start. Well, if you're new here, thank you very much for checking out the stream. We're going to be playing a little bit of Elden Ring Nightreign today. I am about 20 or 30 hours-ish into the game, so I haven't beaten all the Night Lords yet, but I beat a couple of them. And I've been going through and I've played a little bit in solo, I played a little bit in co-op, and I've also been going through the character stories and all that. Now, I've had quite a journey with this game, and I'd like to talk about it. First, I should mention that my perspective here, if you're new to the stream, first of all, welcome. Thank you again very much for checking it out. My perspective here is that I am a game developer and a big fan of From Software's titles. And as I'm playing through the game, I'm looking to play it for fun, but also to kind of look at what does From Software do so well with their design? Like, what is it about their games that makes their games so special? And what sorts of techniques and tools of the trade are they using here in Nightreign specifically? I guess like a less pretentious way of me saying that would just be, I am also going to be trying to review the game as I play, but not just from a critic standpoint, also from like trying to give some insight from a game developer standpoint as to, well, oh, I didn't even know you could target those. That's cool. To come here with the bow guy, and see like, well, I know how hard it is, for example, to make this interior space, or to get the sound effect on this working, or the particle effect on this working. It's really, really cool that they pulled this off. It's really cool that they're using this technique. So I want to try to look for things like that. And I also want to talk about the game's overall like pace and balancing and stuff like that. Because I think, you know, I've had a journey with this game, to say the least. I have at times hated this game. This is super cringe. I probably shouldn't admit this, but for the first time in a long time, I actually like punched my controller. Like, not literally, like I didn't smack it, but like I made a fist and I was like, you know, really, really frustrated. There's something about the tactile experience of playing this game that can sometimes be literally infuriating. But other times I was absolutely enamored with it. And specifically, I had that experience that you can only really get in a Souls game, or something like it, in my experience, where you're putting everything on the line and you're like, there's this, you're sort of prepped for this clutch moment where you only have a tiny sliver of health and so does the enemy, and you don't know if you can make it, and then you finally pull through after so many attempts, and then you beat the boss, and your, you know, heart rate is skyrocketing, and you're just really in the moment, and it feels so satisfying and everything clicks. From Software is so good at cultivating moments like that, and when the game yields moments like that, it feels amazing. And I think it is worth continuing to play the game for that in and of itself. Also, totally forgot that I can't actually... Oh wait, maybe from the training grounds. I can actually fire my weapon by default. Sorry says, I am a very fall season kind of gal. Not too hot, not too cold, and no wasps or bees. Oh yeah, I got wasps under my porch, what's it called? Like under my deck, which has been less than ideal. I'm not a big fan. But yeah, the bees are great, like bumblebees and such are great, but wasps not so much. So let me see, I don't even know if I can get these guys, but I figure that since the game gives you the option to target lock... Oh yeah, you can. I feel like an asshole for doing so, but... Let me see if I can actually character ultimate art, no limitations. Okay. See if this works. So yeah, I'm going to be playing... I'm just curious if there's like a secret or anything that unlocks if I do this. I'm going to be playing through the game, I think mostly focusing on the character stories tonight. But my goal is to kind of try to trace the journey that I went through personally with this title and explain like why I hated it for a moment and then why I fell back in love with it and whether or not I would recommend it. Default, like a quick answer is yes, I would absolutely recommend it to From Software fans. I would just add a caveat that it's probably not what you expect, and it's this sort of, you're going to probably have a push and pull with it, and you have to really be ready to listen to how the game is pushing back against you, and you have to, I guess, happen to find that sort of interaction to be pretty compelling to keep playing. And in the end, I came around, and I do like it quite a bit. I'd probably say it's like a 7 out of 10. The thing is, the most frustrating thing about it is that I think it could be a 10 out of 10 with some tweaks. And what I hope is that they use the initial burst of interest. Like, the directors come forward and acknowledge a lot of fan feedback. And so I think if they keep this up as like a live service or whatever in a year or so, and they expand on it the way that like Helldivers 2 has, I think they're going to be in a really good spot. And so, like Twilight Princess and like Mario Odyssey, my reaction when I first played them was, man, I can't wait for the sequel because I don't love this, but there is something really, really genuinely special here, and I can't wait to see what happens when they refine this. So that's how I feel right now. I think it's a totally fine game. It's not my favorite. It does have a lot going for it and a lot that is frustrating, but at the same time, you know, I think it'll get better over time, and I'm excited about that. Word of caution, minor spoilers, as I bring up the menu here, you will see the name of the final boss. It's not really a spoiler. It's not anything anybody will recognize, I don't think. And I'm not going to be fighting that boss. I just wanted to let people know that I have progressed the story to the point where the roundtable hold is a little bit different aesthetically, and then you will see the icon for the final Night Lord on there, but I'm not going to fight him tonight. Catching up on chat. Sorry, it says you get angry from stuff because the games are difficult. I get angry at Mario Kart because I'm bad at it and I won't stop playing. We are not the same. We're a different breed. I can kind of elaborate a little bit more on why I got frustrated with it, but basically it was, it's little things that kind of add up. So for example, when I click in on the left stick, I'm doing that more in this game than on most other games, and it starts to grate on me over time, and my thumb starts to hurt in a way that other games usually don't, and so I then have to rebind the controls, but then I'm at a disadvantage because I need that, like I need every single control basically, so I've had to struggle with that in a way that I haven't with a game for a long time. And there's a lot of like janky and stuttery things that happen, like your character will get staggered by a lot of random enemies, and sometimes the climbing won't work, and so you'll be trying to sprint away from the encroaching like Nightreign, and a boss or something will like find you and lock onto you and just keep like poking away at your shins, and you're trying to climb up the fucking the cliff or whatever to get away, and your health is being eroded, and the stupid boss is like poking away at you, and your character just will not go up the fucking cliff. And then you die and you lose a level, and you would have to go back into the rain to get your souls back, at which point you have to go through and risk doing that all over again, and you lose so much time. And basically, I don't like feeling like I have to quit halfway through, because if I don't have like a perfect start basically, then I'm at a massive disadvantage. I kind of feel sometimes like, you know, within the first 5 minutes whether or not the rest of the run is going to be successful, and it feels like wasted time. So all that stuff, the tactile experience of doing all this, can be very frustrating sometimes. Invoker, hey Invoker, how's it going? Thank you so much for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing okay today. Invoker says, yeah dude, I get what you mean. Honestly, after you play the game for a while, the infuriating moments get a little more rare since you start to understand where you messed up and what you went wrong. Yeah, absolutely, I would agree with that. It's really, it's tough. I'm not exactly sure how to evaluate it, because it took me, like the first 5 hours I was just sort of entranced with the environment and everything like that. And then I had another 5 hours where I was really frustrated because I just did not get the core loop. And then I had to kind of like look up some guides, not look up some guides, but just like listen to some folks on YouTube, you know, talking about it, and hear different people's opinions. And then I finally got to the place where I was like, yeah, okay, I think I basically get this now. And so the thing is, I found part of that process to be quite frustrating, and I want to offer it up as a criticism, but also, oh, there's Loretta, we gotta avoid her. Also, at the same time, I think people could say the exact same thing about the other Souls games, and I would be like, "Oh man, don't be casual. You know, you just gotta you gotta stick with it. You gotta learn the lessons that the game is trying to teach you." And I'm trying to identify why I didn't find the lessons here to be quite as compelling. I think I've kind of made my peace with it, and I'll elaborate on that in a little bit. Then Invoker also says, I agree, I wish they did more unique itemizations and different kind of bonuses you get after beating bosses. Yeah, more variation, you know, more player expression, more customization, I think will go a long way. And I do think, you know, one interview or something that I saw with the developer, they were saying that, like, or the director was saying, you know, people want the option to queue up as duos, not just single or triple, and that never even occurred to us. That's just like not part of our paradigm. But now we totally get it, we understand, and we're looking at putting it in, right? They're looking at a solution sometime in the near future. So I think, you know, and this is not intended as like a backhanded compliment or anything like that. I mean it sincerely. I think this developer, the director rather, made a really good first attempt at directing a game for the first time. And there was just some stuff that they weren't going to quite nail. And what they're doing is, instead of being like, oh, well, you know, I made the game that I wanted to make and fuck you if you don't like it or whatever, they're saying, oh, yeah, please tell me what you think. Oh, you like this, so you don't like that. Okay. And they're very eager to continue the conversation, which is so... I was going to say that it's rare as something that you see from developers. I don't think that's fair. I think probably most developers are very conscious and very sensitive to what their players want and want to continue supporting that. I do think that sometimes the public-facing aspects of certain game development studios, especially like from the like production or company side, you know, like your Bobby Kotick's or whatever, maybe are a little bit less inclined to be copacetic about that sort of thing. I think of the was it Phil Spencer, when Xbox was going to be like permanently online, and somebody asked him about it. He was like, well, if you don't like that, there's this thing, like Xbox One or whatever. If you don't like that product, we have another product that's offline called, you know, Xbox 360. You can always go play that instead. Like, damn, dude, just like listen to what people are doing your homework for you. They are helping you make better business decisions by being transparent about their desires. And you're being like, well, if you don't like it, fuck off. Like, it's not going to help you. So yeah, I have a lot of faith. It's not the right word, but a lot of something like that regarding the future of this game. And as a platform, I think it has a lot of promise. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of the friction that I ran into in my earlier playthroughs. Risk of Rain. Oh yeah, Risk of Rain. I've heard good things about it. Is it? I haven't actually played it. You find that it's quite similar in terms of its overall loop and like progression, everything like that? Maybe it's just because Rain's in the title or something, but I wouldn't mind checking it out for sure. Yeah, I like the pun that they did with the Nightreign / RAIN versus REIGN. That's something I'm not doing very well over here, is I'm not sticking with my team very well. I found that, you know, initially I tend to be sort of a lone wolf style player. I like to have my own little quiet missions and kind of go off on my own, and I like to try to help the team by going and doing side missions while they do main missions. That's not a that's not a playstyle that's very... I don't want to say it's not supported at all, but I will say that it is pretty tricky to pull off unless you really know what you're doing and your character has some important buffs and upgrades, because otherwise you're just not going to be keeping pace. And especially given the way that and as I say that, I'm doing the same thing here, but as you start to realize that the enemies in the environment are going to be scaled up based on how many players are in the game, and so it really is just going to take you see, like, I'm being extremely inefficient with my attacks here. I'm getting hit, I'm wasting health, and my teammates, if they needed a resurrection or something like that, or needed a flank or a tank, I'm just not helping them. So that was, I think, one of my first points of adjustment, was that I just needed to accept that if I play solo, I can play solo, and if I play with my team, I play with my team. And either way, you know, the game might be a little more brittle. Oh shit! Like, and I wasted all that time, and then I didn't even get my health upgrade. might be a little bit more brittle than expected. And the thing is that, like, once you start to lock in to the almost speed run aspect of it, you know, it's going to be a bit of a random reference, but if you guys have played Thumper, that rhythm action game, I find that my best runs in Nightreign are very similar to my runs in Thumper, because you're essentially trying to create this constant state of flow punctuated by these precise, like, rhythmic, syncopated button prompts. In Thumper, it just happens to be musical in nature. In this game, it happens to be more, and I used the wrong ability there. That was stupid. That time, kind of distracted talking. But anyway, in Nightreign, it tends to be less about that. It tends to be more about, like, you know, the jumping and the traversal and timing your attacks correctly. But ideally, you want to enter into the state of flow where you are always moving with fluidity, with consistency. You're always maintaining a pace. You are only taking a breather as part of a chain of events, if that makes sense. And you're trying to keep that momentum going. So yeah, I should do a video comparing Thumper and Nightreign at some point. I still haven't played Thrasher, which is the spiritual successor, by the same developer, I think, or at least one of the developers. Yep. Okay, let's see if I can read chat after I beat this guy. Sorry, I know I'm behind on some of the messages there. I'm still not... Raider is probably the character I've played the least outside of Recluse, so forgive me if this particular one is a little clunky. Just trying to do the remembrances and all that. I'll probably switch up after this. And I'm just realizing that I didn't even queue up the remembrance. Okay, well, we'll have fun anyway. Let's see. Let me try to catch up on chat a little bit here. Invoker says, exactly, feedback is the most important thing to listen to when you make a game. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's very important. And I really respect and admire devs in particular who can maintain an open communication with their community, whether that's via Discord or whatever else. Like, it's probably easier now than it's ever been to do that, but that doesn't mean everybody takes advantage of it. But when people do take advantage of it, it is really awesome to see. So yeah. And Invoker says, it's not quite the same thing, but it feels very similar on a macro level. You aren't playing against time and trying to basically outscale the game, or the game outscales you. Okay, that makes sense. I hope they take more inspiration on animation from describing the game's animation is basically perfect. Yeah, I would like to see them expand more. Now I'm curious. I want to go check out what that game is like, because, I mean, here's the thing that's weird about this game, is that they didn't create hardly any new items apart from... Well, let me see what this guy has. 1 second. I don't think I need any of this. Let's look at that. They hardly created any new, like, weapons or spells or anything like that. I don't even think they have any new incantations or whatever, apart from stuff that comes with the new characters. So, like, the what's her name? The Revenant has that claw weapon that's unique, and, you know, the great axe and the bow and stuff like that the various characters have. That stuff is unique for sure, but it doesn't feel... it's not quite the same as if they design an entire new array of weapons. And I do think it's like... I just discovered that eating those gives you, like, a long-term buff and some health regen. So... From a development standpoint, like, if you go to the journal back in the Roundtable Hold, you'll find that there is a list of all of the different weapons in the game, and I think they have every single friggin' weapon from the base game of Elden Ring. I don't remember if they have all the stuff from the DLC. I think maybe they do, but I'm not sure. So let's just say base game for now. And that's really cool and all. In my 30 hours of play, I feel like I've maybe seen 10% of that, and 10% that I've actually used or seen other people pick up. And so I don't know why that is. Maybe I just haven't been lucky or whatever, but I've only, like, seen a total of 2 legendary weapons wielded by myself or anybody else, and so it feels like they're already dipping into a very small part of the weapon pool exclusively. And if you're only going to consistently be displaying a small number of weapons, why not add some new stuff? You know, why not, like, continue to expand and make some stuff that is bespoke for different characters and give people more options that way. Not to mention, maybe give people the option to customize their appearance beyond purely cosmetic. Like right now, going back to the roundtable hold, when you want to level up your character, you basically just have these things called like scenes, I think they are, or relics, and they are all just gems basically, and they are gems of different colors, but the colors are pretty interchangeable in that, like, you can have a blue or a yellow or a green or a red gem that you know, gives you health or gives you magic attack power up or something like that. So it's it basically just feels like you have this weird arbitrary pool of things that do something regardless of their like visual coding or indication or whatever. And then you have a massive, by do something I mean like a lot of them don't feel special, a lot of them feel completely interchangeable. And then you have this massive pool of genuinely awesome weapons from the base game that are just kind of not really showing up, and you don't have any like armor customization or like different parts of your character's build that you can customize. It's all just relegated to 3 runes at a time. It feels very, very limited. But the counter argument to that, of course, is that playing very well here, is that you could just say that that's very elegant and very simple, right? Like the moment you start introducing an arbitrary number of character loadouts and like helmets and bracers and all that stuff, then all of a sudden it becomes like much harder to maintain like a consistent visual experience for those characters. Things can get very, very goofy, in other words, and I guess it gets hard. It starts to get more and more like Diablo, right, where you're waiting specifically for this specific type of helmet to drop that has this specific set bonus or something like that. I think it's super granular, and then you're worried much more about the loot drops than you are about the actual experience of playing. So it feels to me like maybe they just decided, you know what, let's just focus on the gameplay aspect of things, right? And let's just make decisions that are simple and elegant and keep people engaged in the core gameplay experience, and then what you get after that will just be bonuses for the most part. That won't be the focus. It's not going to be like Neo, or it's not going to be like Diablo, where loot is the focus. Loot is just something that you happen to get after doing the other cool shit in the game. And you know what? I would definitely respect that if that's the case. I do know I'm a little bit behind on chat. I'll try to get caught up as soon as I'm done with this boss fight. I tend to need to focus because I'm not... I need to get a way of like displaying the chat overlay over the game itself in my main monitor instead of having to like look at the second screen all the time. So I'll try to look into that for the future if I keep playing more demanding games. Oh, good. They got the lightning rim. Awesome. It's my favorite Ash of War. But let me see. Invoker says, "Don't worry about chat. Just have fun with it." Oh yeah, no problem. I appreciate that. I appreciate your patience rather with that. I'm having fun, and I do have a lot of fun chatting with y'all and kind of going back and forth about it as well. Just, I know that it's nice when you know, someone takes the time to engage in the stream if then like they don't get a response or anything like that, and sometimes that doesn't feel fun, right? So I want to at least acknowledge the messages in the meantime. Oh wow, the that's awesome. The Guardian there has an ability, I haven't unlocked that yet, but apparently he's able to create like a pool of healing when he uses his ult. That was awesome. And so yeah, that is kind of cool to see. I keep using the wrong buttons inputs. There we go. It is kind of cool to see. You do feel like your characters have a sense of progression over the course of the game, and it's not just because of the loot that you get, it's also because of the sort of character development that your characters have and the narrative implications and stuff like that. Also, just realize that Godric over there, assuming that he's supposed to be Godric, has fucking holding back the attacks, has some new like Crucible style like aspects of the Crucible style attacks. That's really cool. I hope we get a chance to encounter some of the enemies from earlier in the series because, or sorry, like the Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 3 bosses is what I mean, because that was like my biggest, I guess, gripe, for lack of a better word, with the game at first, is I don't think that they really worked or work very well. And honestly, part of what I found so alluring and compelling about the game originally was the idea that, was that we were going to essentially get a game that was remixing a bunch of content from different Souls games, and that was sort of the promise. Now, that might be unfair, like maybe I sort of misinterpreted the marketing materials or something like that, but that was kind of what I thought the game was going to be. It was going to be, you know, you're going to get to see a whole bunch of different stuff from earlier in the series, and earlier in the series, represented in this world, and there's going to be some sort of story like interconnecting them and stuff like that. And maybe there is, like, obviously I haven't finished the game yet, but to be honest, so far they just kind of show up and then they're just kind of not good. Gaping Dragon is okay. Where do you guys want to go? Castle? Okay. Gaping Dragon is okay. The Smelter Demon, I guess, like, Smelter Demon sucks fighting solo, just like he did in Dark Souls 2. I guess, like, that's a good example, right? You have the entire series of bosses to pull from. Gaping Dragon is pretty iconic, but it's also not, like, so iconic that it's, like, Gwyn or something like that. Just having Gwyn running around the field or whatever would feel kind of cheesy. Oh, I thought that was my teammate. Shit. So, might feel a little cheap, you know? So I think, overall, kind of makes sense that they would pick something like the Smelter Demon, but also, who the fuck wants to fight Smelter Demon again? Like, Najka would have been kind of cool. Obviously you can't do something like the old Iron King, but, I don't know, Mitha could have been interesting, like put her in a little poison pool somewhere. You know, there's so many, I'm blanking right now, but the Last Giant would have been fucking awesome. Or the Giant Lord in a later version of the Nightreigh, just wandering around, like, wreaking havoc on things. There are so many choices, and I don't know why they decided to go with Smelter Demon. I guess the idea is that they did kind of add some interesting mechanics, right? So with Smelter Demon in particular, not only does he go through a few different phases, but he also has, like, a different kind of magic attack that he does. And so there's a point at which he powers himself up to the extent where, like, he's dealing magic damage to you regardless of where you are on the map, but he's also constantly taking damage himself. So there's some interesting mechanics and back and forth, and I think the idea is that oh shit, I gotta get rid of that too. 1 second. So this is 216, 119 Golden Vow. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff there, and I don't object to it necessarily, but I do think that, you know, perhaps there's an opportunity to explore more. And then when you get to stuff like the Gaping Dragon's fine, you know, just sort of works pretty well in a big open area, but what's his name? The Nameless King, which is one of the ones that was featured in the trailer, not to be, like, unfair or anything, but it's awful. I hate it. I love the Nameless King as a concept. I'm glad to see him still hanging out and doing stuff, having a presence in the game and all, but the way he's implemented, it makes you realize very quickly how, like, how essential it is that a Plague of Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that event before. How essential it is. And the enemy who's stealing runes. What the hell? That's cool. So we got two really interesting events at once there. Sorry, that's my train of thought. Yeah, it's like how essential it is, like how much of that, of the mystique and allure of that boss fight comes from the fact, like, the location, right? The music and the visuals and everything kind of combines together to produce this very unique and memorable fight on the mountaintop in the, like, Archdragon Peak, whatever it's called, right? You can't just put that in the middle of a fucking meadow at evening with a drizzle in the background and expect it to hit the same. It's just not going to work, right? is my finding. And so here I feel like we have this wonderful thing that was brought from a previous game and ultimately kind of cheapened because this majestic, beautiful, boss fight, creature, etc., is now been relegated to just pissing around in the middle of a field. And the implementation is such that he doesn't really fit the bounding box of the area, so he's kind of like clipping into the environment and stuff, and it's just like you sapped all of the majesty and beauty or whatever. I'm being a little esoteric here, obviously, but a lot of what made that boss fight special basically is just no longer present, and I find that very disappointing. And also because, if you put the cursed rotted greatwood like right outside the fucking if you put the cursed rotted greatwood right outside the entrance to like the rotted forest or something, that would be perfect. It would be thematically really like on point and everything. Okay, good. Now I get the dual swing. It'd be thematically on point and relevant. It would fit. It would I don't know how else to describe it, but it would basically just seem to like check all the boxes. So I think there are some better choices that they could have made. I might be being a little bit unfair. Not trying to be, but yeah, I guess my excitement or the thrill or whatever, the prospect of seeing these enemies that, oh shit, what the hell? Level, it absorbed my whole level. That I haven't seen before. Now I can kind of transition into, I guess, a bit of a more positive take, is that I have been pretty impressed with the random events that have come out. Damn, and they got it again. If that winds up being King Allant, I'm actually gonna be like, I'm gonna lose my shit. It's gonna be awesome. So yeah, like on the other hand, sometimes I have kind of felt like, okay, I've got this game figured out. I know what the loop is. I know what to expect now. And then I wind up, having things like this happen. I'm like, I've never thought of that before. It's really cool. Yeah, I don't really need that, but where the hell is this guy coming from? Fascinating. Oh, I gotta move. Yeah, I'm glad I saw that message. Sorry, I'm glad to see the Nameless King hanging out. Yeah, man, he's still doing his thing, still keeping up with this. Holy shit, they drained a lot of levels. What the fuck is happening? Still around, still walking his beat, I honestly, wow, we are getting our asses kicked with this level absorption thing. Stop. Oh my god, stop. I'm really being pretty thick-headed with this playthrough. Oh well. There we go. Get some help. Appreciate it. Good job, buddy. There's kind of a cool mechanic with the Raider that, you get an increase in your attack based on of your special ability based on how much damage you take. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Where the hell is this coming from? Gotta see if I can figure it out. Okay, so I guess that's a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? Right? Because on the one hand, the idea that there is some enemy out there who is stealing your runes and making your life a living hell, and there's some sort of mysterious agency out in the world, it makes the world feel like this living, breathing thing. And one that could be actively trying to sabotage you. And it reminds me of the first time I played, what was it called? Left 4 Dead with some friends, and we were reacting to the way that the game, they called it like an AI director, I think was the term they used for it, and the way that the game was incorporating this notion of listening to what the player was doing and then adapting to it, and always kind of keeping you on your toes, never letting you feel like you had figured everything out, right? Always changing. And that is something that I think nowadays it's much easier to do, but especially at the time it was like, that's sci-fi shit. You can't do that. Like, but they did. Back when Valve made games, they made some friggin' amazing stuff. Yes, I know they made Alex and Dota, but I mean, I'm still bitter about never getting Half-Life 3, and I'm gonna I'm gonna stay that way indefinitely. But yeah, like it was really, really cool, and I guess, one sec. The idea that they're doing something here that's the same or like a similar thing makes sense, is really smart, and I think adds a ton of depth and potential to the world. What I will say though is that I think you have to make sure you're implementing it in such a way that your players have a reasonable idea to quickly figure out where the problem is coming from and to solve it. So to think about, you know, Left 4 Dead as an example, all of the things that would put you at a strong disadvantage like that would have a very clear, you know, audio cue associated with them, and then they would usually also have a visual cue, like the whatchamacallit, I forget what they're called, but they're the ones with the long tongues that would kind of suck you up from a distance. Pause. And they would essentially you know, have a very strong indicator of where you had gone and where they were coming from and where you were getting dragged to and stuff, so your team would have a reasonable opportunity to respond to that. Now, granted, I am somewhat distracted talking to chat. I am also not super familiar with this particular character, and it was a completely new event that I've never discovered before, or encountered before rather. So I don't know. There might have been a very obvious thing that I was missing. I think it's tricky though, because especially with a game that has the reputation for being as opaque and as, in a good way, and as like kind of difficult to master as Elden Ring, and also with a game where you don't want people to figure things out too quickly because you want them to keep coming back and you want to, you know, want things to stay replayable and varied. I think it makes sense to make things a little bit obscure, so I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Just take a deep breath. It's been a minute since I inhaled. Let me try to catch up on chat a little bit here. So, itemization. Oh, Saria says, itemization is something Age of Calamity missed. Oh yeah, like it came with DLC, but there wasn't a lot, and I get it. AOC, Age of Calamity, like Age of Imprisonment, is a lore game. Oh, that makes sense, yeah. But Link and Zelda hogged the variety. Age of Calamity, was that Hyrule Warriors? I don't remember a game with that specific title, so I'm just wondering if that was or is that referring to a specific period in the lore? I'm sorry, I'm not a little behind on my lore for that particular franchise. That's nice. So that's a nice legendary there. Golden Tempering, card breaking. That'd be pretty good to pick up for a while there, I guess. Let's see. No, I don't think we need that. Okay, so we're going up there. Maybe we don't have time to do that, so shit. I'm liking the dual hammer build though, that's fun. And then Saria says, mind you, I'm saying this as a Link main. Oh yeah, if it's main, then I'm guessing you're talking about Hyrule Warriors, right? Because that would be your primary character that you've been playing as. That makes sense. Yeah, I think we're talking about this recently too. I'm just kind of getting my specifics jumbled up. 1 second. Even in the original Hyrule Warriors, and as much as people want to deny it, he'll be in Age of Imprisonment and I'll be in there too. Cool. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that turns out. I wonder what other... Was Zant? Zant's one of my favorite characters, or Zant, I'm sure. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. But he was... I loved him in Twilight Princess. I'd be curious if he's ever shown up in another game. Or was that just like a one and done type thing? Surely they must have brought Midna back at some point, right? Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, okay, I gotta go to the... Here, spring up. Birdman already beat us to it. Oh, let's see. Oh, Saria says... would give us more characters like OG Hyrule Warriors. Oh, Hyrule Warriors, okay, yeah. Finally caught up. Or give characters more weapons. Yes. I mean, like, regardless of what, you know, specific background you have as an individual gamer, I am willing to bet quite a big sum of money that pretty much everyone loves player expression and loves customization. And especially if you want a game to have people coming back, replayability is a huge factor, and replayability needs to be fueled by stuff like customization options and experimentation and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that it's tricky because, so on the other hand, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, which is that Muso style game that came out a little while ago. Oh, I hate this one. I'm so bad at fighting this guy. But yeah, like Berserk Muso, I think is what it was called, Band of the Hawk. I really like the narrative of that game. I'm a big Berserk fan, so it was nice to kind of see that in action and get to play through the story. But man, like every mission you would get all of these fucking rings, and the rings would each individually pretty much be entirely worthless unless you fuse them together, and then the fusion would only really provide a very slight stat upgrade. So yes, there was a shitload of different items you could potentially use, and also a ton of different variety, but all of that variety was completely meaningless and cumbersome and annoying to deal with, because it felt like you had to spend half, like, the literal amount of time that you were spending in the game just micromanaging all this shit. And the micromanagement was not really a game mechanic in and of itself. I mean, it technically was, but it wasn't something that felt like it was really rewarding player skill and ingenuity and creativity so much as it was like, did you do your math homework? Did you, like, practice your times tables before the test type thing? You know what I mean? It's kind of lame. The game itself is really fun. I like it a lot, but that was definitely a damper on the overall experience, unfortunately. No DLC items in the game, says Invoker. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember for sure. But I guess that makes sense. I mean, some of the stuff in the DLC is pretty broken. Also, I hate to say this because it feels kind of cynical, but also, just for the sake of longevity or whatnot for the game, I also think it kind of makes sense that, like, that's one potential selling point, right? Like, they have all the assets in the game. They have the source code. They have the, the files, the blueprints or whatever, the prefabs, I think is the right term for it. They could put all that shit in the game right now. Damn it. I thought I was going to intercept him. Didn't work out at all. Oh, well, they still got it. That's good. They have all the assets, they own them all, they could bring them in, but if they do that right out of the gate, then they lose the opportunity to be like, Nightreign, Reign 2.0, Reign Harder, now including all the DLC items that everybody was waiting for, like, they can add that as a selling point. It does sound a little cynical, right, because, hey, why not give everybody everything they want right from the get-go? But maybe I'm getting old and jaded or something. But as I do get a little older, I'm starting to be more willing to make the Faustian gamble or whatever, right? Like, I'm starting to be like, okay, like, even if this game was shit, which it's not, it's pretty good. Even if it were, I would still be willing to say, like, okay, they put out a game that I think is shit. Maybe it's morally bankrupt, maybe it's awful or something. It's antithetical to From Software. But then if they make, like, an extra $250 million off of it or whatever, I don't know, that's just a number I pulled out of my ass, and then they get, like, they can go to a producer and say, or a publisher and say, look, this game over here that we made in a year brought in hundreds of millions of dollars. Let me go do that. Brought in hundreds of millions of dollars, and it wasn't all that hard to make, and everybody liked it, and they're still playing it, and we had 3.5 million players within the first week. So maybe trust us, maybe, like, actually give us more money, and then that gives us, like, a bigger, bulkier Elden Ring 2 or Bloodborne 2 or anything like that. And, like, you know what? Fine. I can be patient. I can make that trade. Sometimes you gotta just make things to bring home the money, right? That applies to any job, any creative process. Ideally, you do things out of the pure love and creativity of it, and whenever possible, I think you should be able to do that without any kind of mitigation from production or marketing or anything like that. But even if I hated this game, which I don't, if I hated this game, but it made From Software a shit zillion dollars and they put that all into another game, that's totally fine. That's great. They were able to earn clout with the people who they get money from. They were able to continue to have a voice and participate in the ongoing game dev conversation. I think it's a net positive. Right? Now, 10 years ago, I would have been like, that's the equivalent of my favorite punk band putting out a Christmas album. That's heresy, you know? You gotta stick to your guns. You always have to maintain your artistic integrity. I'm like, yeah, you do, but you can also maintain your artistic integrity while finding a way to be profitable and to expand your horizons. And it can be very difficult to pull that off, honestly. It can be very difficult to strike that balance. But I think this game did. I think it is not an Elden Ring, but it is a worthy entry, a worthy experiment, and something that feels like it still retains its artistic vision. I mean, just fucking look at this. Try to look at this and tell me that this game doesn't have like a bold artistic vision that's commensurate with other things in the series. And like, look at that. That's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in the game. Like, definitely, I don't exactly have this tier list ready to go, but top 3 skyboxes. This has to be one of them, right? Like, look at that fucking thing. It's amazing. Yeah, why not shit? Exactly. Give me one good reason why not to shit. It's a fundamental part of life. Yeah, that earthbending. I forget what it's called, but it lets me summon earth from the ground. It is a really interesting ability in that it actually generates new terrain. Then that terrain can be used for cover, as well as for leaping off of, as well as like doing jumping attacks, as well as I think it gives you like a buff to some physical stat when you're near it. So overall, you know, if you go through the character's ability sets, there are plenty that initially I was like, I feel like these are kind of totally, oh wait, shit, I didn't bring any lightning weapons, hooray. These are totally bogus, or like they're sort of unbalanced and they don't really, one second, damn it. That was, I'm not helping my team at all, that sucks. So, 2 mistakes that I made here. One is that I didn't bring any form of lightning damage, and you really need it for this guy. And 2 is that if you destroy these things, these little jellyfish looking things, you can actually, they do like cause damage to the boss. So even if you haven't brought any useful weaponry, you can still at least contribute to your team by doing that, right? But you actually have to hit them. Do you have a poison pot? I don't know if poison will help. Let's see. No, that didn't help either. I like the fact that this boss incorporates sleep, because there aren't too many bosses or enemies in the whole game that incorporate sleep. I can't believe I didn't say it. This boss is absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you watch the animations, yes, they're a little bit janky. Sometimes they stutter. I think that has more to do with the netcode than anything else. But the idea that the whole, yeah, you can kind of see it there, right? That the whole environment is essentially like turning into this aquatic environment. Like this creature is terraforming this place. It's usually a desert. You can see that we're standing on like sand dunes or whatnot. But in order to facilitate this battle, it terraforms it into its own environment that's like beneficial for itself. I think that's really cool. The music in the background is so ethereal and haunting. The attacks themselves almost have like this playful dolphin-like quality to them, where he's like splashing water up at you. The incorporation of sleep as a mechanic, the different varieties of ways that you can get attacked and then try to leverage those attacks to your advantage. It's really beautiful and really creative on the one hand. On the other hand, it kind of feels awful. Damn it. It kind of feels awful to actually fight against, because it's moving constantly and it just will not stay still long enough for you to hit it. And when it does, it has those attacks like that where it just splashed water at me or whatever it is, like the arcane at me, which are very difficult to read and respond to, especially if you've just been using, yeah, like, see, I kind of backed up there and I was hoping that the sand dune would help protect me. It didn't. So some of the parts of the fight itself just don't work intuitively the way you would expect. That was really cool. I'm glad that we pulled that off. So normally he would have done like a big AoE sleep thing, and the instinct there is to run from it, but you can actually leverage that and turn it back against the boss. And that's something that is kind of cool about quite a few of the enemies they've introduced in this game, is that like if you just like keep your cool, I guess, and look for an opportunity to subvert the boss, you will usually find it. It's not all the time, but often. Like, for example, I'm obviously doing a really bad job of this, but if I break this, I think that sends little particles back. Okay, I guess not. I guess it's just the, pay attention. I guess it's just the jellyfish, like the polyps. If you kill those, they will, you know, damage the boss. Look at how the sky is changing over the course of the fight. It kind of feels like this battle is blurring the lines between the sky and yeah, bad. Thank you. I was gonna say blurring the line between the sky and the cosmos, which is something that Bloodborne gets into. Oh man, if we can get all these, it'd be huge. Worth the sacrifice. Yeah, you can kind of see all the little swirlies. I think they'll go back into boss and damage him, or they'll just follow me around. Okay. Not sure what I missed there. I know for a fact. Okay, let's follow that one. Okay, hit it, and the swirlies are going. Check his health bar. Following him. Yeah, so it does a little bit of damage. I have to actually get them, like what I did. Can I pull off the Stella this time? Sort of. Not really. I think I actually just got in my teammates' way. That's the worst feeling too, is like when you're trying so hard to just contribute at all, and you feel like you're just getting in everybody's way. But we're figuring it out. I think we got a good shot at beating him this time. But yeah, I mean, like, Bloodborne kind of played with that concept as well, and it was something that, I'm going to get this part of this wrong, I'm sure, but there's this notion, I think, or there's like a fable or Shinto myth or something like that from Eastern culture that has something to do with, you know, if you see the moon in a puddle of water, for example, then you might say the phrase, the moon is in the puddle. You look at a puddle of water, it's reflecting the moon at night. That thing I think we have to run the fuck away from, but I'm going to try to keep it in focus because it's really cool. Laying those little teardrops. Yeah. Glad that I kept my distance. But yeah, so the idea is that you, if you see a pool of water and the moon is reflected in the pool of water, you might use the phrase, the moon is in the water, to describe it. And therefore, metaphorically, the moon is in the water. You are seeing the moon. The pool of water is a portal to the moon, so to speak, in some kind of metaphorical sense. And if you could just reach through to the other side, you know, like a mirror, maybe you could reach through and touch the moon. It's taking the moon and doing like a, what's the term, Saria? Like a local waveform collapse on it in a weird sort of magical way, or metaphorical way. And because of that, you know, you now can be close to something even though it's very far away. So I wonder if something similar is going on here. That was a bad move. It was a stupid move. Where, you know, this entire ocean is reflecting the cosmos and blurring the borders shit between those two realms, so to speak. Which is why we are now able to stay closer to this creature. And this creature also has like more command over their aquatic sort of realm. Notice that guy's name is Souls Tom. I love it. Oh, I don't think we're gonna be in time, guys. Yeah, that was bad. I think we just wiped. That is one thing that I kind of wish I'm not a huge fan of with regards to this game. Is that sometimes when you die in boss fights, it really does feel like the boss... Oh, shit. It's worth a try. Sometimes it really does feel like the boss just decides, you know, actually fuck this, and it just does something that nukes the entire game. Like when you fight the Libra, the goat style madness boss, basically, if you stay close to him at the beginning of the fight, he will just do this AoE attack that will kill you. You'll just die. There's nothing really you can do about it. You just have to not be there, unless your characters are, you know, way more durable than I've ever been. Try this. Maybe this will work. I think you got some of them. Did something. Yeah, look at them go. Thanks, little buddies. Yeah, that wasn't bad. Okay. Sorry, I think I saw you ask about Radon. I have not yet seen Radon in this game. That does not mean he is categorically not in the game. I was very pleasantly surprised by the inclusion of another Dark Souls 3 boss. But I have not seen Radon yet. I think I'm dead. Yeah, I feel bad because I'm like such a liability for my team at this point. I needed to bring some sort of ranged option. What's he gonna do? If he goes to do... Okay, I think we got him now. If we just group up on him. Yeah, okay. Oh, so if we bonk him in the head, it's not like we have to do enough damage to him overall. We specifically have to get him in the head when he does that? That makes sense. Okay, well, we're so close. Okay, ignore me. Just go finish him off. Just go finish him off. Don't... Just let me die. We'll get him. We're so close. We're so close. Just go get him. Yes. Okay. Okay. Good job. Good job, team. Yeah, so see, that feels really good when you actually pull everything together and the dynamic kind of comes in and you actually kind of understand what's going on. It's really, really frustrating to play the game when you don't understand the loop and you don't understand what your role is and like everything is just nebulous. The process of learning that is incredibly frustrating. But once you do and everything kind of comes together and synergizes like that, it's really, really good. I really enjoy that. Now, this is a perfect time for me to catch up on some chat messages. So let me do that before I proceed. Let's see. Sorry, Zabona says, I'm glad to see the Nameless King still hanging out. Oh, yeah. Zant was in Hyrule Warriors, and both of Midna's forms are Hyrule Warriors. Okay, I gotta check that out, especially with the Switch 2 coming out. I think it's about time for me to play through that game properly. Sorry, then says, I love the way you talk about game design. Oh, thank you. Game design perspective of these topics, because it makes someone like me who only plays games but doesn't work on them, it makes me appreciate stuff so much more. Thank you. I'm really glad. That's kind of my goal and my hope with these streams, is to be able to share that stuff as well. And also I'm genuinely curious to hear what folks think of my takes. Like, just because I make video games doesn't mean that I know everything about them, and I don't always know, you know, how people's perspectives from outside the industry, so to speak, will compare to my, like, how can I say, I'm always going to have a specific, the fact that I've worked in the industry has, like, changed the way that I look at games, and not that that's something I would want to escape from or whatever, but it's something I can't escape from either way, because at this point, you know, it's just sort of permanently changed the way that I think about things. Like, in the same way that you can never go back and watch a movie for the first time once, like a second time, right? You can never go back and play Expedition for the first time again. Expedition. What is the fan term? Oh, this kind of makes me angry.
In the name of Grin, god of war, to extol the virtue of the soul. Conquerors of neighboring seas were gathered to fight in contests of strength.
Okay, I can kind of skip through this real quick. As a quick aside, before I forget, it looks like they decided to refer to the god of war in this game, yay fireworks, as Grin, which sounds a whole lot like Gwyn. And in Dark Souls, well, in the other games too, but especially in Dark Souls 3, it was established that one of, like, Gwyn's son that was excommunicated was revered as a god of war. I think they called him Faram in Dark Souls 2. And now they're dropping this name Grin in response to, or in reference to, a god of war. I really hope that they're not trying to say that Gwyn's son is named Grin. I do not accept that. No, thank you. But I mean, it's not the end of the world or anything. It's just kind of silly. But yeah, so each of the characters have individual things called remembrances, which are individual personal storylines. They can be accessed from a journal. And, you know, some of them feel a little... I don't know how to describe this, but I guess they feel a little bit closer to the storytelling of Dark Souls 2 than of 1 and 3, in that they are a bit more obvious, a bit more fantastical, a bit more, how would you say, like, saccharine, perhaps, than some of the stuff I'm used to seeing in some of the other games. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. But it feels like a tiny bit out of place, I suppose. And so, that being said, so I'm not like the world's hugest fan of that, but at the same time, I really appreciate the fact that you can actually go and read the journal later. Like, so much of Dark Souls' story, just, like, so much of the story is, like, incredibly vague, and you have these conversations with people in the game that are also incredibly vague, and then they're just gone and they're done, and you can't talk to them again for another playthrough, which might be 50 to 100 hours if you decide to do a second playthrough. You never have a journal. You can never just review conversations or plot points. So as much as I find this to be a teeny tiny bit, you know, like, let's look at some of the storytelling here, right? The Raider's storytelling is that he was a pirate, and then he wanted to challenge the Night Lord. Somehow he knew what the Night Lord was, and then he, you know, wanted to fight people, and he really liked fighting people, and then he found somebody else who wanted to fight, and he liked that guy because he fought other people. So I mean, like, I'm oversimplifying. I'm not being fair to the story, but you know, he's talking about him being on a ship, and he has a ship's mate called Weathervane, and like, the storytelling here is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it feels a little out of place in a Souls game. But I can actually go back and read it. I can actually go back and experience it directly, and that, I think, is pretty cool. I think that actually adds a lot. So I think rather than going through another remembrance, I'm going to switch up to Wilder, and I'm going to play a solo mission to see how it compares to the co-op mission, just to kind of overview, because that's something I haven't done on stream before. It's on a solo mission. Wilder is the character that I kind of thought at first, I was like, yeah, this is so generic, like, I don't want to spend my time with this that much. Not that it was a problem, it just felt like very cookie cutter, I guess, but I realized over time that he actually has a lot of really cool stuff that he can do. Not to mention additional challenges I haven't even touched yet, but HP restoration, follow to character skill, yes. Okay, so I think that's fine. I'm not a huge fan of just like all of this shit. Like, I don't really want to spend all my time sifting through all this stuff every single time, you know? Not the most fun thing in the world. I also really don't like the fact that you can't filter. Like, let's take a look at the filters, right? There's a lot of stuff here, but I guess it's not the end of the world as long as I can filter it meaningfully and sort through it easily. So we can sort by favorites, which is useful. We can sort by size, which is useful, and color. But let's say I want to pick an effect where it's like I only want ones that do fire damage. So if I want to find fire damage, I can't. I don't see it here. I can try status effect, but fire is not a status effect. Starting bonus, well, that's just stuff that like starts you off with fire. It doesn't, it means that when you equip it, you will start off with fire damage, but it doesn't increase your fire damage overall. Environment effect, I'm not even sure what that is. I think that's just like it changes things like rune collection or whatever. It doesn't seem like you even have any of those. Team effect is okay, but like, you know, I would love to know, okay, what is something that is good for the Wilder, that applies fire, and that is, you know, good on an axe, or even not even good on an axe, just like specifically, you know, I don't know why we have all of these different options for all these different specific kinds of weapons, in a menu that can't be collapsed. Like, you can't reduce this or hide this. We have all that granularity, all this information for weapon types, but we don't have that for the things that I want, which is like, I just want to look for poison. I just want to look for fire. I just want to look for things that restore your stamina, right? I really don't care so much about what specific weapon personally. And I don't know. I feel like I spend maybe 25% of the game in these menus customizing my character, and I feel like, especially if you want to lean into like the randomization aspect of it, the devs should really spend some time trying to make this as streamlined and as smooth as possible. And right now, right now, it feels like a fucking mess, and I get a headache looking at it. I know I'm whining because I'm an old man, but you know, still. I'm gonna just look here to see if there's anything. This could be potentially good. Stamina recovers with each attack. Guard counter. Guarding. Extra stamina guard counter is given a boost. Yeah, so there are some interesting esoteric effects here. You know, interesting trinkets and whatnot. Although something that I've seen online as well is that people recommending like different builds for different characters will usually all kind of recommend the same thing. And it's like, you go to 3 or 4 different YouTube channels and search for Elden Ring relic recommendations, and they'll pretty much all say the same thing. It'll all, like, every melee character will have the pocket watch, the Knight of the Beast, and maybe one other thing. This is gonna do poison. That's fine. 1 sec. Let me just look to see if I can find any more wilder specific things, because I do like the character specific things quite a bit, and they can change things up quite significantly. So, Wilder Art Gauge greatly filled when the ability is activated. An ability, also that's my near death thing, so that's not as great. Let's try this. HP restoration, great store attacks, partially. Yeah, I think this one here is the one that I want. Okay, so yep, let's queue up for a solo mission. It is really nice that you can choose single player versus multiplayer right from this menu over here without having to go turn offline mode like you would have to do for Dark Souls 2 or whatever. Yeah. Oh, the emotes. Yeah. So I didn't even know where the emotes were at first, but they're so cool. I'm glad that they are in the game and that there are ample options in the game as well. Okay, so let me see. Alright, let's figure out what I need to do here. So, who am I fighting? First and foremost, I'm fighting the bug, and I think the bug is, yeah, weak to fire. I already have fire, so that's good. I'm off to a good start. So, I'll start off by going down here and get that out of the way. Okay, so again, like, the idea here is to try to maximize flow as much as possible and try to maintain momentum and just not slow down and keep on going, right? And when that hits, that feels great. So pretty soon, like as soon as I get to like level 2, I'll probably be able to hit these guys in one hit. The fire buff is really nice, and honestly, having the ability to enhance your character's like core moveset is really special. So doing stuff like that and then leaping into the fire is not something you start with, but unlocking things like that definitely adds like so much to the game. So I'm very happy that they've done that. Come on, open up please. Okay, sure. So I can do this and that, and then I can do this. So notice there that wasn't even particularly optimized of me, but like I am now at least familiar enough with the game to be able to take a cursory glance and make some quick decisions and keep the momentum going. I went the wrong way for a second there, but it brought me closer to, I was able to correct, get to the side of grace, and kind of keep the motion going. I don't technically need to fight this guy, but a lot of times it is advantageous to just try and pick up a few extra runes, as long as it doesn't take you too long like I'm doing now. Not doing a very good job. God damn it. Okay, there we go. Gotta get it lined up. Keep forgetting that the great swords don't have a great horizontal reach when they're applied, when they're swung with two hands, right? Oh, Dark Sun Gwendolyn. It could be, but I think he's more associated, or they are more associated with magic and intelligence as opposed to like trials of raw strength or whatever. So I'm not sure that that quite fits his character or them. So I actually don't know about what the proper like gender pronoun to refer to Gwendolyn is. Some people say that he is the first trans character in a FromSoft board game, and I think if folks identify with him that way, then that's great. I think that makes a lot of sense and is totally in line with his character as far as I know. But I think there might be more to it than that, or at least there's more detail in addition to that, if that makes sense. If I'm remembering correctly, they were born like male, but a male-like sex, but they were assigned female gender at birth, or I don't know, at birth. I don't know if like our real-world terms quite apply, but they were told by their father, Gwyn, that they were to take on the role of a woman, basically because of their frail appearance and because of their affinity for magic and stuff like that, right? So Gwyn had a son. He said, "This is my son," and looked at his son and said, "Yep, got son parts. Okay, this is my son." And then when his son when his son got a bit older, he realized my son doesn't look like a son usually doesn't look like my other son. He looks more like a lady, so I'm gonna have him act like a lady and do lady stuff. And I think there's a ring you can find in Dark Souls 3 that says something along the lines of Gwyn gave him this ring, and when he wore this ring, he took on the aspect of a sullen, brooding goddess. So I think the implication there was that Gwyn gave his son like a trans ring and was said, "Hey, you gotta put this on and be a woman now." And Gwendolyn may have not been the biggest fan of that. He's like, I'm a femboy. That doesn't mean I'm a woman." And Gwyn wasn't having it. It's like, "But you look like a snake, therefore a woman." Anyway, Gwyn had some interesting ideas. Let's put it that way. But yeah, but I'm glad that people are... I think Gwendolyn overall is a really interesting character, and one that I wish got a bit more screen time. I will also say that, like, even though Gwendolyn was an adversary, and I wasn't necessarily a big fan of them in the first game, there was something that was just so tragic and chilling, and I don't know how else to say it, but kind of viscerally wrong about seeing them consumed by Aldrich in the third game. Like, when I walked in there and I saw him, like, or them being kind of perched on top of Aldrich and consumed, I felt like sick to my stomach. Like, in a good way, because the story was effective, you know? But, I was like, okay, he might be my enemy, but notice the fact that the word "my" is in there. You can't do that to my boy, to my lady, to however they identify. You can't do that to them, right? It's not acceptable. And so I wound up being, like, really grossed out, which I think is the point. I think they were probably trying to get us to have that reaction, honestly. Any attack power, I guess this way. But yeah, there's a I think I mentioned it before. Sinclair Lore. Sinclair Lore is my favorite Souls lore channel, and I believe that the it's a two-person team, Sinclair and Sophie is a trans woman, and I would like to go and hear her takes on Gwendolyn, because I think she'd have a really interesting perspective, both as a trans woman, but also as just somebody who is a very knowledgeable and very, astute scholar of the series, so to speak. So, to continue commentary on the solo run that I've been doing, the game is actually quite fairly balanced for the most part around a solo run. The only real problem with the solo run is that certain bosses have attacks which I can only fairly describe as complete fucking bullshit. And those attacks include things like the worm face constantly spewing death blight everywhere in all directions simultaneously while running around and shaking his head like a doofus, and constantly applying death blight as you get closer to him to try and actually do anything meaningful about it. So basically, I'm gonna go level up first, I think. No, I can deal with these things. So basically, there are times, there's a couple other bosses like that. I think the, I think the Deathblight boss as well, not only is he a fucking troll to begin with, but he, also, like, summons these giant enemy crabs, and rats that will constantly respawn and constantly track you and poke you and, like, poise break you. So, if you're a solo player, it's very difficult to do anything about that at all. And to the point where I feel like if I spawn in with that, I might as well just quit out. And I don't know exactly how you would balance that, but to be fair to a solo player versus a group, because groups can usually handle them pretty well. But at the same time, if you are a melee solo player, it becomes much more difficult. If you can stay at range, then that's one thing. I guess that's fine. Stop it. That's fine, because from a certain perspective, you can just say, well, the game is designed to be a multiplayer game. If you want to play solo, that's up to you, but you're kind of playing it in a non-standard way, and so, like, don't expect the game to cater to your playstyle. You know what? That's fair. There are games that are, I don't know, you don't play Counter-Strike or Overwatch solo, right? Like, there are games that are supposed to be team games. But even if, like, it's not a demand or an expectation that the game cater to solo play, you can only, like, gain for, like, as a developer, you can only gain for yourself if you expand the, like, pool of players and playstyles that you support, right? So, and given that the single player style was already established in the base game that you're basing off of, I don't think it's too unreasonable to just be like, put in a variable that determines how quickly enemies spawn. On that note, I could be oversimplifying it, but the way that I've seen things like that implemented before, when you're implementing a boss encounter in a game like this, one second, let me read this stuff over. Oh, great, perfect. There are more ways to do it than this, but there are a couple of different ways to do it. And one way that I've seen done before is you have a game object, like, in your engine that is called like an encounter manager or an encounter instance. And basically this is just like a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet just says, okay, this is the encounter, this is what it's called. This encounter has X, Y, or Z number of enemies. They spawn in at this position in the world, and there can be a delay between when they spawn, etc., right? So it's basically just a list of enemies, a list of, like, locations and timings and stuff like that, and conditions at which they spawn. And then once you have this thing specified, right, you call this thing, encounter 01, like encounter boss 01 or something. Then you can choose to spawn that encounter anywhere in the game that you want to, like any location, any event, anything that can cause an encounter. We'll have this thing called a variable, which is just like an empty container saying, I would like to spawn encounter X here. It's like a variable in math, right? I want to spawn encounter X. I should not let the bug get away. Oh, targeting, please. Damn it. I'd like to spawn encounter X here, and then you can put whatever encounter in for X that you want. And then if you say, okay, well, I have encounter X, and it has enemies A, B, C, and they spawn at an interval of Y seconds, as long as you set up all of those things as variables, so you don't say specifically, encounter X only ever has 3 enemies. You say encounter X has N enemies, and then you can tweak however many enemies that is. So then when you spawn in the game, you get to the boss fight, you run a command that says, like, start encounter. And then that command will have parameters, which is basically just like you can add extra detail to specify how you want the encounter to run. You say, okay, run encounter X with parameter interval equals 20 seconds. And then it'll look to see if there's an interval parameter, and it'll say, okay, so you want to spawn in a new enemy every 20 seconds. And it's pretty trivial to look up and say, okay, let's check the game state, let's check the overall variable for the gameplay itself, and see how many players are currently alive in the current instance of the game. How many active clients are there attached to this instance of the game on the server. If it's only one, then maybe set the spawn count to 20 seconds. And if it's, or like to 2 minutes. And if it's 3, then set it down to 20 seconds, right? I'm probably over explaining something that is very, very simple. But basically, the idea is that as long as you set things up with variables as opposed to hard-coded values, then it's really easy to, well, I mean, nothing's really, really easy, but, you know, it is totally doable and manageable, and I would say standard practice, to then be able to tweak those variables after the fact. And so that's just a general, a good general, coding slash game development slash building systems tip, is that whenever you're making something, if you think there's even the remote possibility that you might want an aspect of your thing to be tweakable or changeable later, then don't hard code it in, right? Like if you're making a racing game, for example, and you think right now today that the top speed that you're only ever going to need for a car is 100 miles an hour, don't go in and write top speed equals 100 miles an hour and then just compile. Go in and write top speed equals X, and then when you compile and you have your prefab, you have your instance of your car in the game, then you take that instance and you set its max value to, or max speed value to 100, because sooner or later you're gonna want to change that value, and it's so much easier to just change it to tweak it per instance than to go back to the original code and then have to make that adjustment after the fact. You may have heard, oh boy, this will be fun. You may have heard the expression, don't spend a day doing now what you could spend a month automating, right? So, I know that's kind of a troll thing, but I actually kind of agree with it. If you have an opportunity to future-proof something and to make it easier for yourself in the long run, then even if it's less efficient today, I would say, fuck it, get it done, and then you'll have it done. It'll be in the system. You'll not rely on it later. Oh my god, that was so bad. Went the completely opposite direction. Okay, so that is something that I'm not okay with, is that the camera and lock on in this game. Nobody tell Feeble King about this game, because if he couldn't deal with the lock on in Dark Souls 2, he's gonna burst an artery or whatever the expression is in his head, burst a blood vessel over this, have a conniption, you know what I mean? Because genuinely, my fucking guy will not target what I want him to half the time. And again, skill issue, before skill issue, I know I can probably get better at it, it's probably something I did wrong, but when it comes to lock on, I don't feel, oh, he's just constantly responding them, okay, great. I don't feel like he's, it's consistent enough, if that makes sense. This is another example of a boss that I think works totally fine in multiplayer, because this guy is always going to be, running around, and the enemies are going to be respawning, and there's going to be a whole crowd of them. I think you can eventually actually get them to, stop respawning. But, you know, it's not necessarily a boss fight that I particularly find super compelling, per se. I mean, it's just, you know, these bosses were in the base game. They were, fine. They were okay. You know, I love the design of them. I gotta say, the atmosphere and just the boat on land, but sort of generating its own ocean, so to speak, its own water to navigate on. The color scheme, the design of everything. It almost feels like something that would come out of a Zelda dungeon. It reminds me of the Shadow Temple and that kind of spectral ship that takes you to the second part of the level. So I do think, like, thematically it's very, very interesting, and I enjoy it from that standpoint, especially in the base game. Very, very interesting character design and all that. Oh, hi. Shit. I didn't know you guys are still alive. But also, you know, it never was... Okay. There's a death bird now. That's pretty funny, actually, though. One second, I gotta focus a little bit. Death birds terrify me. They're so creepy, I love them. Oh yeah, shout out to Silent Hill F. I don't know if we got any Silent Hill fans, but come on. But yeah, Silent Hill F I'm really excited about. It looks great. Oh, get it. I always like to try and clear out the chaff first. I'm probably dead. I don't know if I can do this. See? Thankfully he's keeping his distance for the most part. He's actually been helping me out by defeating some of the enemies for me. I'm assuming that the remaining health pool at the bottom includes the death bird, because if it doesn't, then I'm gonna have a rougher time of it. We'll see. Maybe it doesn't. I do like that they gave Wilder the Bloodborne style, or it's not just Wilder himself. You can get these gems that help recover life after. Oh, he just collapsed? Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, I like that. You could have gone and engaged with him, or just like dealt. Oh, so like the Tibia Mariner like spawned him as like an incarnation after he died. That was really cool. It was a really nice surprise. Parry to dispel. Okay. So there are some really cool esoteric spell effects too, like this. If you walk, it'll spawn stars. You won't usually use that all that often on a lot of different characters, but it is really cool. I wish the game had more of those. I think they're genuinely awesome. Let's see. So I could go here. I think I'm probably gonna go to the castle first, and then I'll go to whichever place is left afterwards, or whichever place is nearest and inside the circle for my final healing. Sorry, he says, I barely understand this only because I've been watching a YouTube channel that does a bit of coding. Oh, yeah. I mean, these are honestly a lot of, if you start coding, you'll find, and you're familiar with math at all, which it seems like you are quite familiar with math, you'll find that a lot of the logic is exactly the same. It's basically, you know, just setting up a series of logical statements and making sure that they're, you know, internally consistent and that the logic flows from one thing to another. I mean, I haven't done a study of it or anything, but I figure that if you are adept at math, then you should also really have no trouble picking up some coding skills. I guess a more precise way to phrase that is if you've already, you know, developed that part of your brain, something that you're familiar with and comfortable with, then coding will feel also very comfortable. In my experience, anyway. And also, like, I'm actually not really all that great at traditional coding in terms of, you know, never fully learned a programming language. I know a bit of Visual Basic, which is not something I've ever really used professionally, but then I also, you know, studied C++ and C#, and both of those have been useful, but for the like, I couldn't write a full game, like code a full game or anything like that. Even a very simple game using C# or C++ alone, I would need to use to bone up on it or to use a visual scripting tool. And honestly, like, I feel I am so grateful for whoever came up with scripting tools like Kismet and Blueprints, because basically it's entirely possible now, depending on your game engine. Most of my experience comes from Unreal, but for the most part, you can like teach yourself how to make a game with no need for ever like any coding ever, The coding that you will do will essentially be the form of like a set of Legos called blueprints if you use Unreal, which are it's basically just a flowchart. It's a relatively easy to understand and use flowchart where you create logical statements, you get references to things, you say, okay, this thing that I have a reference to, I want to do that thing. Like everything I described with the race car and its max speed and stuff like that before, you can do that in blueprints without ever having to really compile a code or having to really script code like letter by letter. And that being said, everything you learn and all the techniques that you develop and apply in that situation are entirely applicable if you do want to go back to like the text code, because it's the same exact logic, it's the same exact functionality, it's just presented in a more like user-friendly interface sort of thing. Like you can grab the blocks and move them around, which is good for my brain. This makes it like a whole lot easier to process, I guess, and to manage, especially in terms of debugging and stuff like that. I find that a lot easier. Okay. Really need to get a fire weapon. Actually, yeah. So, are there any actual fire? Oh yeah, okay, up here. So I need to go there right now, which means I need to get to the tree. Okay. I guess I could just take this, just in case. Okay. Alright, let's go. And is there a shrine on the way? There sort of is. Yeah, okay, so what I can do is I can go get the flask, and then from the flask, go down and get to the tree, and go up here to get the flame. A little inefficient, but it'll get two important upgrades. So yeah, once you start to realize, I think part of the oh, hang on. Oh, okay, that's gonna be in the... Okay, perfect, yeah. One of the more difficult things to kind of make your adjustment from coming from Elden Ring to this, from the base game, if you want to call it that, is just that the base game... Actually, probably do this one here, since the other one is actually in the inside of the ring, and I'm already here, yeah. Is just kind of getting out of the mindset that you're supposed to. Okay. Actually, I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, I can still do the fire attack with this. Okay, perfect. That makes it a lot easier. Actually, totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So it was basically just like, ow! I saw it coming. Should have dodged. That as an Elden Ring player, you know, I still, sorry, I think we talked about this last time, but I would still very much appreciate it if they gave an optional exploration mode, story mode or whatever, even if you couldn't earn any upgrades or anything like that during that play or any achievements. Like, I want to just be able to explore the world and search for lore and stuff like that, and try to enjoy it and immerse myself in it without having to constantly rush everywhere. Because, you know, with the race-like nature of the game at the moment, it does kind of feel like every decision you make is constantly being evaluated by the gods of time. And like every mistake you make is extremely stressful, because it's not just like, oh, I failed at this encounter, you know, I didn't perform this boss fight as optimally. It's like, oh shit, now I totally screwed myself because I am out of time. And that's the thing. I think if you're playing solo, it's a bit different. Oh yeah. So you can't just decide to arbitrarily quit whenever, if I understand correctly, especially if you're playing with a group, because even if you let yourself die, oh, there he is, finally. Even if you let yourself die, you will just respawn at a nearby site of grace. And so, you know, let's say I've been playing for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that, and I went through the first boss, and then I made a mistake, and I wasn't feeling it. I didn't feel like I really had a chance at the boss, and I just wanted to end it. I would have to quit out of the game entirely and basically lose any progress that I made, and I wouldn't get a reward for it. And when I came back into the game, I think it might even try to tell me like, your session was lost, would you like to try to resume or something like that. Whereas what I would want to do instead of that would just be to just be able to quit, be like, you know what, screw it, this run didn't work out, I'm going to try again later, etc. Of course, that might encourage a more, I don't know, apathetic playstyle, so there's caveats of doing that as well. You don't necessarily want people, as a general rule, to just be deciding that they can just quit out of your game whenever, But actually, no, as I said that didn't really make sense. I think you do need to empower players with that choice and just understand that they, might abuse it, but trust them not to. Nope, not doing that. That's something that Helldivers does really well. And I think maybe next week's stream, I'd like to do like a comparison video where I play like an hour of Elden Ring, of Nightreign rather, and then I play like an hour of, that sucks. Sucks that I made that mistake, not the game sucks. I play an hour of Nightreign as an opener, and then I go in and I kind of take a look at Helldivers, because I think Helldivers is one of those games where you kind of expect, how can I put this? Given that it's an online multiplayer game, and people who play online multiplayer games vary widely in, like, let's just say their levels of commitment and politeness, right? And games like League of Legends, as an example, are constantly plagued by toxicity, and the way that League of Legends try to address toxicity is basically by making players wear a dunce cap. Like, granted, some of the people who play that game that I was on the receiving end of are definitely, like, in need of some sort of policing. Like, there's only so many times you can be called every slur under the sun before you're like, can we just get an adult in here, please, for the love of God, But, do I have two some sort of keys? What the hell? I have two of them. I didn't even see them in my inventory because they didn't show up in the little wheel. Okay, I gotta go deal with that then. So, yeah, I understand the need for that, but, like, Helldivers, they were just like, playing through a game and having a bad run sucks, and quitting out on the bad run also kind of sucks. But you know what sucks even more than that? Going through that whole process and then coming back to the game later to try again and having the game tell you to go fuck yourself, and that you should be embarrassed and that you're a whiny little baby and you need to write an apology letter to God before you're allowed to come back in. Like, I swear, I understand the motivation, I understand the challenge. I don't think it's, like, entirely stupid or anything, and admittedly, I don't have a better solution. But that being said, I remember, like, getting pissed off at League of Legends games because other people were making it miserable and then, like, quitting out. And then I would come back the next day and then a screen would pop up saying, like, this is a community, sir. This is a family. And when you do things in your family, those actions have consequences. When you leave a game, it can make people sad. And then it, like, opens up a prompt and it says, like, you need to write out here, answer these questions in this field. I, insert player name here, do solemnly swear and understand that when I make other people sad, then that ruins the gameplay experience. And you have to, like, type in your name. And like, if I do not show good sportsmanship, this results in a bad experience for other players. And I promise, and cross my heart, hope to die, that I will never ever do it again. I'm like only exaggerating a tiny bit. It's like basically that. It's this weird form of, like, guilt and shame that feels like it belongs on a playground. And again, I'm not endorsing the sort of behavior that people get punished for, including just, like, being toxic and leaving or whatever. Because yes, if you are in a 5v5 game and every member of your team counts and one of them gets pissed and leaves, it puts you at a disadvantage and that feels bad. So you have just done something that feels bad, but also, like, that makes other people feel bad, and that's not ideal. Like, I don't, like, support that as a principle. that being said, also you have to be realistic that sometimes games are going to be frustrating, and sometimes people are going to leave, and if you just make that whole experience worse, it's going to make people do one of two things. They're either going to be extremely frustrated and not want to come back, or they're going to feel like they cannot leave even if they're having a miserable time, because otherwise they'll be like publicly shamed for it or some shit like that. So at a certain point you just have to be like, yup, this sucks, but it's the nature of the game, so let's go the opposite direction. Let's make failure and frustration and all of that stuff as fun as possible. And that's what Helldivers did, contrary to the traditional wisdom of we should punish players for fucking up. They were just like, let's make it so that everybody is having a really, really good time, and then if they get mad or something, then fine, let's make that fun too. So if you're in a match with other people in Helldivers and you troll and you piss everybody off and it's a really bad time, they will kick you out of the game. What happens though is then you go into a private instance of the same exact game. So you maintain your progress, you don't lose any of your XP or any of the items or the pickups that you got, you don't lose your progress in that mission, it just branches the mission off, and now you go in timeout. You're in timeout on your own, you can't bother anybody else, but you can still play the game, and you can still have fun with it, and you just have to like stay away from other people for a minute, so you calm down. And then, would you stop? It's an impressive little dance there. And so, okay, if you, sorry. If you, rage quit out of the game, and you leave your team behind, well, the same thing happens. Like, their session persists, they can keep playing, and then, since the server queues are still open, they can throw down this little SOS beacon thing, and it'll basically, like, prioritize their game in the queue, and they can now get somebody else to come join their game faster. So you can basically be like, hey, we got a lever, somebody come help us out. And since a large portion of, a large portion of the player base, will just use the auto queue anyway, then that winds up working out just fine. So they immediately get somebody else to queue with. One sec, 153, 112, but it has bleed, 136 bleed, and it's a great sword. I'm gonna do that. Please get up, thank you very much. It's gonna be rough, but that's okay. Stop. I don't know why my thing triggered there, but I'm not complaining about it. I didn't actually equip my weapon, did I? Please don't spit on me. Heal. The wrong weapon out. Is it this one? It is. Okay. I don't know why that's triggering, but I'm not complaining about it since my fucking Rain of Stars just staggered him. Get him in the eye, please. Thank you. I must be walking around him enough to get it to spawn. Please again, please again, please again. There we go. That's great. It actually just like keeps on pummeling him. Oh, got the bleed proc. Okay, health back. Yeah, I forgot. I think I tried to mention this before, but I might have not fully gotten it out. One of the weapons that you can get actually gives you actually gives you like the Bloodborne style HP recuperation, which is why my life bar sometimes looks gray. I am doing really, really badly on this boss, but it's okay. Actually, oh, come on, get out! Get away from the wing! Get over to the head! Fuck! Okay. That was actually great. I'm glad that the collision actually worked that way. It was great. Not complaining. Just tense. I don't want to lose my. A nice little innovation. Man, so much damage. Nice little innovation in the single player setup over here is just the fact that you can. One sec. Nice. Okay, I think I got crit. Okay. It's just the fact that you can get these items called, what is it, Wending Graces or whatnot, that will allow you to resurrect once, and you can stack a couple of them, and then you get one for free as well. So if you get lucky enough, you can get multiple, like 3 or 4. Yeah, see, I got one over there. Ice Storm. Ooh. Who am I going up against? I forget what it was. The Bug. Yeah. This is tough because I would like the extra revive, but this will also give me frost buildup. I think I'll go with that. It's a very risky choice. I like that though. It's a very meaningful choice. So, let's see. This seems like it would be a better choice, but this also does bleed. So, try that. I haven't actually used like a double bonk build yet. How that goes. For this character anyway. Okay. Sorry I asked, have you decided on a main? You mean for Nightreigh? Not entirely sure. I think that Wilder makes the most sense overall because he is, you know, very well rounded, very well balanced overall, you know, very satisfying to play. The sense of flow that you get from traversing the environment. I forgot to kind of show that you can use the hookshot to do this, like, and then jump at the last second, kind of spring up. And so, yeah, he's just really, really fun, really dynamic, really engaging. I think overall for co-op, I prefer the Iron Eye because he just has, he's a bit safer, and I like the at a distance like style of play a little bit more, you know, and he's a bit more versatile, I feel, as well. Okay, so let's see. I don't know why I still have the chicken foot. Oh well. Yeah, so now I should have, if I remember correctly, my character can cheat death once, and then when you play solo, you get 1 free revive, and then I have the 2 Wending Graces or something, right? Saria says, not just that, but sometimes the internet might die. So yeah, exactly. Like, you'll get penalized. I think, I got a message about that on fucking League of Legends at one point where they were like, yeah, we know that sometimes people have bad internet connections, but, you know, it's your responsibility to make sure that you have... Yeah. I was watching, okay, so this guy doesn't speak for the whole company, and I don't think this guy is like an asshole or anything like that. It was just his opinion on this one thing, right? But he was saying, players were complaining in his chat. Sorry, let me clarify. I'm dead. Players were saying in his chat that, like, one sec. See, and this is part of the reason why, like, certain classes feel imbalanced, because there's nothing I can do, like, while he's flying around and shit like that. Once the other guy shows up, I don't really feel like I have a lot of means at my disposal either. What am I supposed to do? I can't even hit him. They didn't happen to bring a range attack. I could go after the, yeah, I'm not gonna win this. It's okay. I still kind of showed off. Okay, oh, he's going in there. Okay. So what can I do over here? Nothing. Walk slowly. Can I get some stars, please? Please? Oh, there we go. Finally. Okay, so I got 1 hit in, and now he's back off the ground. Very, very beautiful fucking asshole. My fucking... That didn't even work. What the hell? Please. Please. Let me hit him. That's so frustrating. Oh my god. Yeah, so this boss in particular, like, he has several attacks that just feel like fuck you buttons, right? Also, I swear my fucking, the thing is cursed there, the Rain of Stars, because it just triggers arbitrarily. Maybe I should just focus on attacking this guy. Except he got me as well. I'm just, like, not having a good day with this one. Yeah, I guess I don't, you know, probably just don't have the mechanics down pat, but, like, if I was Iron Eye, I would be much further along in this fight, because he just has a greater set of tools to be able to deal with this little pesky asshole over here. Let's try this. Come on. Okay, that did something. Okay, there we go. I do like the fact that you can, like, set him on fire. Yeah, sorry, I think it is a moth. Not entirely sure what species it's meant to be based off of, though, but, yeah. Yeah, so the thing is, I'm doing absolutely terribly here, but I feel like with a bit of additional preparation, I could still beat this with this character. I just need to study it more. That is a bit of an issue with this game, though, is that you know, it will take me another 40 to 45 minutes to be able to have another shot at fighting this guy because of the nature of the run back. Like somebody, I forget who it was, might have been Saint Riot, was basically like describing this as, you know, imagine if your favorite boss in Elden Ring had a 45-minute run back, right? Like, I like fighting this guy. I think the visuals and sounds and everything in the environment is just absolutely beautiful. I adore it. It's wonderful. And also, like, in order to stand a chance, I need to know what the fuck is going on. In order to know what the fuck is going on, I need to be able to practice it. I mean, come on. This is really cool, though. It's like spinning me up. Ah, I got like a weird parasite on my back. What the fuck is that? What's it doing? That's cool. Oh, I'm like generating poison off of my back? That's cool. Yeah, and like, we're not going to survive long enough to see it here, but, you will eventually see, damn it. Sorry. You'll probably eventually see the moth itself, like, join onto the top of that helped. Oh, can I go to you? Yeah. Damn it. Too slow. I can at least survive long enough to show that off. That could have killed me. I also don't understand why. I thought, like, when he takes fire damage, he's supposed to keep being on fire for a while. It didn't seem to be doing that. But yeah, really, really cool mechanic here is that they have these two individual characters that are separate entities within the game world, but then they will eventually spawn a different version of the boss where with the same health pool and everything, but now they are fused together, and they are, I believe it's actually a different model. Like, the first time, there are two separate models that have their own, like, behavior trees that are moving around. I think for this one, they're actually faking it a little bit, and they're just putting the moth, like, they're animating the moth as, like, its own part of the overall character, but it's really, you know, in phase one, you have the moth plus the scorpion type thing. And then in part two, you have, what's his name? Noster. And that character model is actually both of those things together. They just have like a moving joint, basically. And the moth is attached to the joint, like the, what's it called? Like a lever on a camera arm or something like that. It's being like kind of pulled around. But they're part of the same actual character asset, I think. Mothra Elden Ring Edition, yeah. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think I'll do one more, and I'll do it with the Archer, because that's the one that I played the most of. Makes sense to kind of show my progress there, I suppose. So let's see. Poison, yeah, I think this is one. Okay, so one thing I want to do here, art, dexterity, look for fire. Wait, what? Oh, hang on a second. Yeah, see, so really all I want to do is, like, find something that does fire damage. Fire grease. Figure starting poison's pretty good, but not what I'm looking for. Fire damage, intelligence. Okay, so that might be good, but intelligence doesn't really benefit me. Holy damage. Okay. That wouldn't be the end of the world, but I really need fire. Poison. HP restoration. Yeah. And there's got to be a fire-based thing. Fire pots. Fire attack power up. Poison and rot. Blood loss. Okay, I'm not really finding it. Magic. Okay, so yeah, it's really difficult to find the thing that I want in here. I don't... Oh, here we go. Running it. Deals fire damage. Okay, so we got fire. Yeah. And this is what you'll see a lot of the time, unfortunately, is that, you know, you'll find these two things being put onto basically anything that does physical attacks, and then one other, like, buried one. What is this? That's a yellow? Huh. Yeah. Just want to see if there's any other things that are good for Iron Eye, but I don't think so. Yeah, this menu is somewhat cumbersome. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So, red Iron Eye, Nathan. Okay, that's cool. Okay. Solo or no? Let's do it. Let's do a team build. Sometimes the matchmaking can take... Oh, I didn't even know I had a flask in here. Sometimes the matchmaking can take a little while, but we'll see. If not, if it does take too long, I'll go back to solo. But yeah, I think so. My thoughts on the game overall are basically that it... It seems to want you to do one thing in particular. Or let me rephrase that. More so than other From Software games. Nope, that's not true either because Sekiro exists. Let me think. Okay, I guess I'll say this. This game has a very distinct and specific and unique kind of loop to it. And I think it does allow you to have a lot of different ways of approaching that loop. There is player expression and creativity. That was fun. But at a certain point, you are going to need to make a commitment. And once you commit, like by definition, you're kind of stuck. And you have to kind of hope that you enjoy the thing that you're stuck with because you're stuck with it. And you're not going to get to change it for a while. And if you don't like it, well, sorry, you're stuck with it. You just have to deal. After the fact, after you are done with the current commitment, you can then think about what just happened and decide to try something different. And the problem is that you will probably make significant long-term commitments that are fruitless and frustrating and annoying and boring until you finally figure out how to make the correct commitment. And there's no one correct one. There's different options, there's different builds and stuff like that. But that being said, it will take a while for you to find the one that really clicks. And then once it does, it's awesome. Now, with Elden Ring, you could say that as well, because especially when you're starting off, you don't really know what the proper way to go is, and you know, you might just be kind of at sea for a little while until you figure that out. But you're still, you know, you still have a chance of, I guess, if you go to the wrong way, you can immediately turn around and try something else. If you pick up a weapon that you don't like all that much, you can pick up any number of different things, including like going for a completely different build, etc. I guess I'll just do solo since this is taking too long. I'll do a random one again. Or well, if I'm going for fire, actually, let's do the moth again, because I can show you the difference between these two outcomes. Now I can't cancel the matchmaking? What the hell? Yeah, I will say the netcode can sometimes be pretty janky. Oh, of course, now it's now it's done. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. But anyway, yeah. So basically, you have to commit, and if you don't like the thing that you've committed to, then you're kind of stuck with it, and you kind of just have to deal with it. And eventually, and that can be very frustrating because you're stuck with things that you don't enjoy for a long period of time. But eventually, you can get yourself to the point where you break free of that, and you hit your stride, and everything just kind of clicks and connects, and then it's awesome. Is it the fucking Emerald Herald? Maybe. Was that a recluse skin? I'm cringe, and that's based. I will never be based, and that's not cringe. There's no one I'd rather be than me. Cringed and based. Is it based to call something based, or is it cringe? Because those who call things cringe are usually cringed, but it's also based to call out cringe. But saying based is cringe. So, who really cringes the cringer? That's stupid. We have fun. We have fun here on the Maven's channel. But yeah, so the short version of that nonsense that I was saying is that, like, this is a game that requires you to want to have fun with it. If you're willing to meet it where it is, then and figure out how to click with it. If that happens and that works for you, you'll have a good time. And if not, you're going to be frustrated and pissed off and punch your controller. So basically, people who like this sort of thing will find that this is the sort of thing that they like. So the thing I like about Iron is that, first and foremost, the ability to have to maintain a distance from your enemies while also still being, dealing physical damage and not having to worry about FP is huge. It's really genuinely great. Secondly, the amount of survivability you have by staying at range and then also by using like this, your dash, is great. You can also use your dash to dash through enemy attacks, which gives you... Oh yeah, that's definitely an Emerald Herald skin. What the fuck? Okay. 1 second, sorry. 46 Mighty Shot. Yeah, okay. So I'm doing that. I'll talk about that later, I guess. Mighty Shot. I just got kind of... I don't know how to feel about that. I guess, yeah, so to kind of wrap that up, Iron Eye is really versatile. He's really mobile, flexible, easy to learn, plenty of depth and opportunity for that guy's having a weird day, for additional like nuance to the play style. The mark is not useful just for yourself, but for your whole team as well. That dash also gives you additional versatility and survivability. The ultimate gives you iframes while you're using it, which is huge. And the oh, I'm not even using the right... Oh, 1 second. Probably because I couldn't before. Okay, here we go. And the the ult is useful for resurrecting your teammates as well, and it can take out huge crowds of enemies all at once. I think overall he's the most versatile and has the greatest amount of utility in the game overall. Maybe Recluse does as well. I don't know her quite as well, but he can kind of do it all, kind of like Wilder, except he just does it from a range while Wilder does it up close and personal. Certain things that he doesn't have access to include the basically like certain on-hit effects. So the Wilder and the you saw me with the Raider before are both capable of doing of getting health back after they're hit with the right gems. This guy doesn't do that for whatever reason. The bows don't work with those sorts of things. There are caveats, but overall I find that he is the easiest character for me to get into a flow with, if that makes sense. Everything just kind of like every action flows into the next in a very fluid and very satisfying sort of way. Let's see. We're going up against them, so we should do like this, and then this, and then this. in my opinion. So, you have to be willing to vibe in the rain for Nightreign. Yes, absolutely. It's a very good way of putting it, honestly. Let me see. Okay, I want to upgrade my sword because, or my bow, because it at least does fire damage, and at the end of the day, we still need at least one thing to do fire damage with. They want to go to the crypt, okay, to the, okay, I guess that's fine. Yeah, so I was gonna, like, whine about the skins for a second. So on the one hand, I think, you know, I saw somebody with a, Artorias skin. Obviously I'm a big Artorias fanboy, which is mandatory for calling yourself a Dark Souls fan, so of course I am. But at the same time, you know, there's one thing, if there's an assumption, I don't know, hang on a second. I have to gather my thoughts about this, because something about the inclusion of the, of that particular character skin, the, what's her name? The Emerald Herald, doesn't quite feel right to me. And I don't know that I have a great reason for that. It's just, she feels like she belongs to Dark Souls 2. And granted, there are bosses in here that are also from Dark Souls 2. So if we can have bosses, why can't we have her? And I guess it depends on how well they handle the explanation as to why her stuff is here. Because, I don't know, I have a pretty strong attachment to that character based on our quote-unquote relationship in that game. And I feel like their presence in that game matters a lot. And so just parading around in their garb in another game doesn't really feel great. It feels a little disrespectful. And I don't fully agree with what I just said. I don't know if that makes perfect sense. I'm trying to find a way to make my thoughts concrete about it. But it's like, I don't know, in Dark Souls 3 when you get Artorias' gear, you get it after, I think, going to the alternate place where you fight like Champion Gundyr or whatever, in the unmarked, not unmarked graves, but whatever the darkened version of the first area is called. I forget its name. And that feels like, okay, well, Artorias' legacy is being continued like thematically into this place, and that kind of makes sense. And you know, this is a direct sequel to the previous game, so it makes sense that an important character like this would have a presence. And we're talking about dark stuff and abyss stuff, like, okay, that's all fine. But like, if the description of it here reads like, I don't know, if they don't do something like that, I pushed the wrong button. If they don't do something like that, I will feel a bit disappointed is all. Did she just run right past me? What the fuck? That was a surprise like that. And also, if you're a total scrub like me and you can't like aim your abilities correctly, you can still often get a hit off with the ultimate, just because of like the insane AoE that it does for Iron Eye specifically. Look, we're both level 3. We're like not really supposed to be fighting this the Black Knight Assassin this early on, but we're kind of able to do it because, you know, this character is just that good. HP restoration upon attacks. Oh, that's an Urgy Seal. That's quite a lot, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Okay. Oh, I need this too. Yeah, the item management can be a little much. Level 7. That's fine. Let's see, 65 and fire, 63 improve fire damage negation. Okay, so I want to do that. All right, there we go. And let's do this and that. There we go. Okay. I think that's right, right? If I'm an Artorias fanboy, I'll love Expedition 33. Oh, is he? Well, I'm guessing that's because of similar character traits, as opposed to like they put his armor in the game, right, or something like that. Although it is kind of cute, you know. I didn't have a problem with I played Astrobot, and I really love Astrobot, actually. I should play it on stream sometime. It's so delightful. It's so charming. There's so much that they did in that game that is just so well implemented, and the whole world itself feels so, like, I don't know, tactile, like responsive, reactive. I don't know. I think they're a French team. If not, at the very least, the director who's been speaking publicly about the game for a while now is French, has a strong French accent, so that might be another cultural victory. Sorry for your folks, but yeah, so I don't mind it. I actually can quite enjoy it when games have crossovers, and yeah, I think, you know, as long as there is some kind of reason and it feels respectful for why the Herald's outfit is here, then I think I'm okay with that. I guess also, like, Artorias is someone who you can kill and then you can claim his gear as like a trophy, or like loot it off of someone somewhere, right? Like buy it from the merchant or something like that. I forget exactly how you get it in 3. I think you buy it from the hag in or the, not the hag, what's her name? Like the shrine maiden, is that her term? In the untended graves. Well, that's the other thing. Oh yeah, and so like that is loot. Like, it's always been loot that you can have. But I don't know, the idea of looting the Emerald Herald feels kind of weird. But I guess you can get like the Firekeeper set and the plain doll set. So I don't know, I'm probably being a little too cynical about it, if I'm honest. Ooh, sleep. Interesting. I gotta try that. Can I level up? Nope. It kind of sucks. It's cool though. Wait, I didn't drop my Wilder's bow, the Arnai bow, did I? I kind of. Sorry, it says there's a character in the game who's a straight up Artorias tribute. Okay, awesome. I'm looking forward to that then. Yeah. So, here's the thing. I wonder. I can play it on my own. I haven't decided yet if I should try to play it on stream for the first time, so that you get like my first impressions, or if I should play it on my own first and get familiar with it, and then like do a review stream, like an analysis stream afterwards. I feel like I'm you know, most of the streams I've done so far have been like stuff that I've already like heavily rehearsed or thought about or researched beforehand. I don't know how these other streams have been compared to them. So, I mean, I would be open to trying either one for sure. But I'd be curious what you think, if you'd rather have the novel, like, first time reaction, or if you'd rather have me do a little research and come in more prepared. Can we clear out this whole area? I will say the sense of movement, motion is very nice when you actually get a good little sprint, little jog going. Very, very nice feeling. And the graphics, I guess, are maybe not like quadruple A or whatever, but seeing the whole landscape start to fade away, and be consumed by the night blight is really cool. Maybe should have upgraded this one instead. I don't know. I know that fire does work on the final boss. I don't know if sleep does, which is why I prioritized upgrading the other one. Oh, good. We got another Mariner thing. So that's something that I have been more impressed with as I've spent more time with the game, basically, is that the first few runs of the game, say maybe the first 10 hours or so, until I was able to beat Tricephalus, which I was not very good at, or maybe just like the squads that I teamed up with, we didn't have great synergy. Maybe I shouldn't blame myself entirely, but I also, like, factually did not know what I was doing yet. those were probably the least fun because there was the least amount of variation. There was the least amount of like satisfaction and sense of fairness. I really just felt like I was constantly getting dunked on, and there wasn't really much I could do about it. I felt like the runs themselves were very frustrating, and there wasn't much I could do to mitigate that, unfortunately. And so, really, at the end of the day, I just wound up experiencing the same content over and over again. I didn't so like how many times you would fight Margit just like over and over and over again, right? And it just got to be a real grind. And then once I actually broke through that and started experiencing more stuff, I was really excited about it. So this is something I'm a little bit conflicted about, honestly. Like, big surprise, right? Wow, what? Oh, the Deathbird showed up again? So I guess he can just... That was a really cool attack. I love the way that it just, like, totally reduced the whole field to, covered it in spears. That was really awesome. Come on, use the attack, please. There we go. I mean, this boss, like, is not my favorite, but it's definitely very, very cool. There's a lot to like about it. Yeah, so, okay, one of my favorite things in the game was... there are these world events that can happen called Shifting Earth. And every once in a while, I'm not even sure like what the trigger conditions are, something will happen in the environment. And when you enter into a given world or instance, I guess, something will happen such as there will be an icy mountaintop that will appear, or a giant chasm of lava will spawn in the middle of the map, or something. What the fuck? Hi, bird. So you're just gonna hang out here? Ah, shit. Okay, that was really cool. I love that. That was fucking awesome. Might not have loved it as much when I was playing solo, but yeah, look at that shit. That's awesome. Really cool. What a great way of like continuing to expand on and enhance the kind of mechanics and characters that have been established in the base game. Giving them an entirely new sense of presence. That was really, really good. Oh, sorry, it says, please, I want to see your reaction so bad. Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Honestly, it looks amazing. Like, I'm really, really excited to check it out. Checking communion, critical hits, restore FP. Eh. But yeah, would you have a preference as to, like, are you saying that you would prefer to see my, like, first time reaction, so to speak? I'd definitely be down for that. Just wanted to make sure I understood your perspective. But yeah, and I really, really love that. So one of my first, like the most fun events that I had with the game was the first time I went down to explore the Shifting Earth event that was in the like fiery chasm, because going through that whole thing was genuinely fun, and it was new, and it felt like I don't know, I haven't played World of Warcraft in a bajillion years, but I remember the feeling of like going into a raid area for the first time with a new group of people, and it was just totally stunning, and you didn't know what to expect, and there were all these crazy enemy types that you never seen before, and you knew that there was some great treasure, something to, you know, explore, discover, and it was awesome. And you felt like you were, yeah, like the place itself was also thematically really interesting because it was like sealed off, or it was maybe the site of an ancient battleground or an ancient temple that you weren't supposed to go to. And I love that shit. And so I got that sense of deja vu, and I was really excited about it. And I'm sorry for butchering that pronunciation, by the way. Deja vu, Tsukiyome. Shit. The fire chair is punishing me for my transgressions. But yeah, so I guess, yeah, he got it. Good job, good job. I totally lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Oh, cool. Nice. Oh, yeah, so, going down into that area was always was so cool, and it brought back all those nostalgic memories, and I was just really, really excited about it. And I got like halfway through, and then I realized that none of my teammates gave a shit, and they were off doing like some random, I don't know what. They just didn't follow me. I assumed they would, and so I was barely able to keep up with the bosses that I ran into, and eventually I just said fuck it and tried to like speed run all the way to the bottom of the chasm, and there was a final boss there, but I was I was not able to do it on my own whatsoever. Oh shit. Okay, 1 second. So base bow does 94, and this does 75 plus 30, so it's a bit better. Improve range weapon attacks, HP restoration. 7, 10, 10. Okay, so this one is the worst. And this one gives me access to more fire if I need it. Okay. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay. Yeah, because that's a conversion of fire as opposed to an addition of fire. Some of the stuff is pretty opaque with regards to the like, stat explanations and stuff, but I think it's making more sense. Saria says, yes, please, your first reaction because it's such a powerful story. Okay, yeah, awesome. Yep, definitely. And this character seems so much better, so much thinner than the others. Yes, yes, that's very true. I mean, I think it suits the playstyle. I have to say, I wish that there was a chunky muscle mommy, which is a term that I learned recently that I am in love with now, that was also part of the crew, because I do kind of feel like, you know, how can I say this? In most, it is a trope in not just game design, just in character design in general, that when you're designing somebody who is a big burly tank, they will be usually a dude with big brawny muscles, or even not big burly tank, just like any character who is intended to be in melee combat and consistently absorbing damage, they will usually go with a brawny dude. And the reason for this, conventional wisdom or whatever, is because, you know, usually dudes are more muscular than women. Usually dudes have more ease and propensity of putting on muscle mass and put on more muscle mass at maximum. And so, ooh, shit. So it makes sense, you know, it's not illogical or anything, it does make sense. But it's a fantasy realm where you can do whatever you want, up to you, how to design your characters. And you can set whatever rules you want. They don't have to follow the rules of the real world specifically. And also, you can find creative ways to give your characters ways of tanking damage that aren't just muscles. So time after time, generation after generation, if I see that developers, the only way that they can think of is giving to implement a tank is to make a muscular dude, then it's like, well, you didn't really put a whole lot of thought into that, did you? Like, and you don't have to overthink every single character, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a muscular dude in a melee role. It's not sexist. It's not a problem inherently. In the same way that it's also not inherently sexist or inherently a problem to have a character who is female also be a slender, sassy seductress who focuses on subterfuge and stealth and stop it. Sorry. and stuff like that. There's nothing sexist about having a female character who happens to be lithe and trim and has like traditional sex appeal and uses her feminine wiles to seduce men, like a Widowmaker from Overwatch, right? You can make a character like that without it being misogynistic and without you yourself being a misogynist. However, if that's like the vast majority of the way the female characters are depicted over decades and decades inside the inside the industry overall, and maybe not just the games industry, just like media in general, then it becomes a trope, and the trope becomes regressive and boring and dumb, and just like after a while it's just like sort of pathetic, honestly. Like, you can create whatever you want. You're making your entire own novel universe. Literally do whatever you want. And they're like, okay, well, the melee guy is big and tough and brawny, and the guy who is the one who is the archer, and this comes back to what you were saying with the Iron Eye, the archer is the one who is svelte, and she has to be sassy, and we gotta see her butt a whole lot. I got no problem with butts, I got no problem with sass, but, you know, if that's the only thing, it gets old. So I like the fact that we have a variety of different character archetypes and builds. You know, yes, the Duchess is slender, but she's fucking vicious. She gets right up in there. She's like probably the most like brutal melee combatant. If you're just going for like intensity of attacks, right? Favors a very like present and aggressive playstyle. The Revenant is frail, but it's not specifically just because she's a woman. It's because, or because she's female rather. I think she's probably a child. It's because she is a doll, right? Now you could probably do some psychoanalysis of like, oh, why did they decide to make this character a doll and not a male character a doll? I don't know. But the point is, it's not just like, well, she gets the default like sassy lady role or whatever. There's a whole story as to like her identity being a bit more complex and interesting, which is cool. Now we didn't get a Zarya, we didn't get a Vi from League of Legends, you know, but that's okay. We did get a couple more slender male builds, and we did get a couple more varied and nuanced female builds, and I think that's something. Could they have done even more? Sure. Might they in the future, and would that be a nice thing? Yeah, sure. But I feel like they're playing around enough with the archetypes as it is that it's at least something, right? It's at least contributing to the conversation by not just repeating the same thing that we've seen a bajillion times before. Sure, you could argue with pretty much everything I said. It's all very subjective, but yeah. So I look at the Iron Eye as like, yes, it's nice that the stealthy archer doesn't have to be a lady. Can be, nothing wrong with it, but it's nice to have a little bit of variety every once in a while. You know what I mean? So hopefully that makes some sense. Make the tank a tiny angry person. Yeah, exactly. I like that idea a lot. I mean, like, that's sort of what they did with Hampton in, is that his name? I think his character name is Wrecking Ball. But Dungy calls him Hampton, so I call him Hampton. But in Overwatch, he's just a little hamster. Right? Character's a little hamster guy. But he also happens to pilot a big mech. Diva as well, you know, I guess she's a sort of traditionally attractive, traditional slender, svelte body type, but they give her like a big fucking mech as well. So like there are ways of, you know, and to be clear, I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging like slender traditional, you know, archetypes at all. Like I think I want to advocate for all like different types of body types to be represented and validated and celebrated, and so I want to see more as opposed to only, if that makes sense. Anyway. All of this is just to say I agree with you. I probably could have just said that. Spared you the fucking TED Talk. But you know what you're getting into when you come to these streams. So. I'm also not being particularly helpful to my companions here, but sometimes it's just nice to shoot a flower for a while. These are probably like the least useful enemies to actually spend time fighting because they don't really give a whole lot of rewards and they're just slow and boring. Let me see, how much souls do we actually get? 3,200 is not very much. A friend is dying away from us. Poison, negate damage, ace spear. Okay. After a certain point, it becomes very useful to just focus on getting passive upgrades. You can stack them. Yeah, okay, so I gotta go there. That's what I should have been doing this whole time, huh? Okay. I think I'm getting kind of tired. Been a long week. Okay, yeah. So I guess I'm sort of lucked out. I will say, like, so this was actually one of my initial frustrations, is I thought that you had to, like, constantly press the jump button to jump up. But if you just press jump once, your character will actually, like, sort of auto-mantle over the ledge. And that's great and useful, except I don't think that was, I mean, it could have just been me being dense, but I don't think that was particularly well conveyed. And so I spent so much time spamming the button and then not understanding why my character was like doing a stupid little shitty dance in midair. And that was very frustrating and I hated it. And then I figured out what I was doing wrong and it was fine. This is probably very stupid, but I want to see if I can just get the troll and snag the... Which I probably won't be able to do. But snag the upgrade material. Oh yeah, this is dumb. Yeah, you know what? I'll clear out these guys. If they don't drop anything. No, I'm gonna die if I stay here. Okay. Made a mistake. I can already hear the rain coming. Okay, there we go. Yep, no big deal. What the fuck? Okay, there we go. I was hoping to get one more upgrade material in, but I don't think that was wishful thinking. There's still a chance, I think, to get him, but not very high at this point. It's okay. So just as a developer, though, you know, I am still pretty impressed with what they've managed to accomplish with the engine. I mean, you know, for $40, I think it's fair to assume. So it's very difficult for me to put a precise number on like the value of entertainment, because if I only spent, you know, 10 minutes with a game, but I feel like it was such a unique, beautiful experience that it, or even just a really funny and engaging experience, whatever, that I... Sorry. That's not helping at all. Sleep one? Yeah. Or funny, engaging experience or whatever. Then, you know, I think it's about quality over quantity. What does she want me to do? Why is she pointing there? I think we're having a little communication breakdown. That was funny though. Yeah, so sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. Maybe just focus on the boss fight for now. You're saying there's something here? I don't see anything there. Oh yeah, that's something that this game could definitely benefit from, is like just a couple of additional pings, some form of communication. Like there's really no way to communicate with people in a meaningful way. It's very frustrating. Okay, this guy's not too bad actually. But yeah, so as a developer, as I was trying to say before, I am very impressed with what they were able to accomplish, and I don't think it's necessary. Like, it's very difficult for me to feel like I can put a specific numerical value on the amount of entertainment that you get out of a product that makes it worthwhile. Like, I remember Joseph Anderson, who's a YouTube games critic, who I would recommend. I think he has a lot of good stuff. More into streaming these days, I suppose, but, you know, the reviews that he made previously, I think, still hold up pretty well. And I think that he made an interesting point about Hollow Knight, in that it was like, regardless of what he thought of the game from an artistic or entertainment standpoint, it is objectively a good game. And what he meant was that it was objectively like a good product, in that for $15, he perceived the game to have launched permanently on sale and early on sale, because you can get so much content, like 60 hours or so on a first playthrough, and subsequent playthroughs have challenge modes and additional things to explore and unlock, so you're only kind of scratching the surface with your first playthrough as it is. That it's really pretty much impossible to make an argument that as a product that $15 is not worth your money. You might not personally enjoy it, but from a business standpoint, it's objectively a good product, right? So when I think about, like, obviously this will vary from person to person. Some people will hate this, and that's okay. But for $40, you get a professional remix, fun, experimental bonus mode of a game you already like, that supports the developers in their endeavors, an interesting experiment. And I just noticed all the different sets of jaws that the dragon has. Wow, that's really cool. feel like that's something I never saw in single player. Dramatic finish. Aw, man, you beat me to it. Oh well. I think that's great. What I will say is that, as you probably noticed from that boss to me seemed a bit too big for the environment. And as a result, there was a lot of stuttering and edging, not that kind of edging, around the environment, and it felt ungraceful and it felt clunky and glitchy. And I never had that experience with that particular boss in the base game. I always thought it was quite good and quite elegant, and maybe I am missing something. I don't know, it's been a while, but I don't remember ever being that janky. And honestly, that's the problem with, I think they picked some bosses for fun recognition value, which is fine, but in so doing, they perhaps didn't do as much effort in really ensuring that the bosses that they were picking were actually appropriate for the environment. So I don't think the Dragonkin soldiers in the base game actually did that thing where they enhanced their arms with frost. I think some of the attacks are new, some of the movement patterns are new, and that's really cool, except for the fact that it doesn't fit the environment. So I feel like you either need to ensure that the players are going to fight them in an environment that's ideal for their moveset, or you just restrict their moveset. Like, there wouldn't be anything inherently wrong with having another character like the Gaping Dragon, who just kind of hangs out and orbits. Like, the Gaping Dragon's a bad example because it jumps like really high in the air too. But like something like that where it's a bit atrophied. I still think that the Cursed Rotted Greatwood would be pretty much perfect for this game. There's so many opportunities to put it in. It's great. It's got great like AoE attacks. It's got the ability to spawn additional mobs like easily from those eggs and stuff. I think it'd be a great fit. I don't know why they haven't put it in yet, unless I just missed it. Okay, good. So we already got good fire proc on it, and I already got my ass kicked off, rolling down the stairs. Wonderful. I can actually get some HP back from spamming. I'm a little careful. Ouch. Maybe I should be a little bit more careful. But yeah, see, notice that like already we haven't even done anything all that crazy, but just because I have the access to the bow, I can constantly stay on this guy. We're already doing so much better, and because we have at least one of our party members who can attract aggro from the other thing, doing so much better. So like, it's still hard. Like, there's one of our guys just died, or it's like a near death, and so we have to be careful. We could get wiped at any time, and I'm about to, but it feels like, okay, now we're playing the game the way it was quote unquote supposed to be played, right? We're spreading out a little bit more, we're synergizing, we're trying to, like, you know, exploit the boss's weaknesses. Got him. It feels like we have more of a chance, in other words. Don't do that. I just, like, every time I say something positive, I get punished for it. I get this fucking thing. I do like that idea of like your engagement with the boss having some sort of like tangible long-term positive effect on you. And also I'm just doing a really bad job. That's okay. Nope. I have to figure out how to dodge that better. But at least I'm keeping up the pressure. Action? Yes, there we go. Okay. So I'm not being very helpful to my other Iron Eye, but I'm keeping up enough pressure on this guy that hopefully that will make up for it. Ideally, we want like some of us doing damage and some of us like pulling aggro. Oh, hi. Give me a heart attack, why don't you? I wonder if the polyp that's on me will die when I fucking... Oh, now it's gone. That's one way to get rid of it, I guess. I will say, for the most part, like, people in this game have been pretty smart about when to resurrect you, and have been pretty amenable to that. Like, people want to cooperate. There we go. Okay, that was nice. Yeah, the other thing, fuck me, Jesus. Two separate statements. But, yeah, I guess another thing is that it is so surreal seeing the maiden in green there. Shanalot with a fucking katana just swinging at me. I do think that the death and resurrection mechanic is kind of silly. I will say that it does feel a little bit doofy, I guess, for lack of a better word, that if your teammate dies and you want to bring them back, then basically you have to riddle them full of attacks, and they might come out of a near-death state like bristling with arrows like a fucking porcupine. It's really bizarre. But more to the point, you don't get great hit feedback, and it's difficult to lock onto your opponents, or to your allies rather, and to stay in a position where you feel like you're consistently hitting them. So really it just feels and looks like you're hitting air, like you're just whiffing over and over and over again, especially if they're at like 3 pips of their, like the 3 bars of death, like they've died multiple times. I can't tell you how fucking frustrating it is to be at a final boss and be basically like, I don't know, 3/4 done and be on a roll, but then basically have the boss be doing these big AoE attacks that are impossible to avoid, impossible in air quotes, and then have to fucking like spend a full 30 seconds wailing away at one of your teammates to get them up, only to have to die immediately because you're the only one left pulling aggro, and then you also have the same thing happen to you, and then they have to do that, and you get stuck in this endless fucking nightmare of just constantly hitting the air around each other to get each other back to life. It feels very, very, I don't know, disconcerting, and like it makes it like hurts my stomach. I don't know how to describe it. It gives me a feeling in my stomach that's similar to when you're on a roller coaster and you're about to go down the hill, like a pit or an empty feeling. It viscerally makes me like fucking uncomfortable to do it. I don't know how to describe it. It's really weird. But I hate it. I really, really don't like it at all. And I do, however, really, really love stuff like when I can come in with my guardian and I can fly up into the sky and then crash down on the earth and use that big whirlwind to bring everybody back to life and just resurrect everyone. That's really cool because you feel like you're moving in and you're clutching and you're really helping out your whole team. It's dramatic. The sounds and the visuals are all on point. And now, granted, not every bit of resurrection can or should feel that way. I think dying should have some sort of a consequence and maybe a little bit of a penalty associated with it. That's fine. So I admit, like, I am often kind of hesitant to point out problems in game design without at least trying to suggest something, and as like a fix, and I have no fucking clue what the fix is. It's sort of arrogant of me to say. My gamer brain is just like, well, at the end of the day, this isn't fun. Please make it more fun. Which is sort of privileged of me to say. That is generally how I feel, but I also acknowledge that that's kind of like bratty of me to say, especially since, you know, I'm a game developer and I'm not saying, and here's a suggestion, just like fucking make it better for me. You know, it's not the best approach. But that's kind of where we're at. That's probably my least favorite part of the game. Death just feels like really annoying and frustrating. And in Elden Ring, you can recoup super fast. You're fighting Melania, you know, and you die, you get her, you have her like, I am Melania Blade of Mikola line, and then you go back like 20 feet to the bonfire, or the site of grace, and then you move back, and then you're back into it. If you get to Noster and your team is not having a good time, you didn't find the right equipment, you don't really understand the boss's weaknesses yet, or whatever, then you can basically be stuck in this loop for 10 minutes where you're getting absolutely fucking nothing done. One of the bosses, I think it's the Augur, winds up healing itself as well, so if you're not doing well enough, it'll just rub it in your face. And I think literally we were stuck on a boss for half an hour, for almost as long as we had been fighting the rest of the fucking thing beforehand, because we were capable of avoiding the boss's attacks and resurrecting each other, but not enough and not long enough to do meaningful damage. So it's this agonizing constant loop of one of us like barely chipping away at their health pool, while one of us resurrected the one who was down, and it would just cycle between us based on who was down at any given time. So the two things that I'd love for them to fix, or like if I'll be bratty again and say I'll pick 3 things that I would love to be fixed. One is please give us an option to just explore the world without the time pressure. If it's a separate mode, if it doesn't have any rewards or incentives or whatever, if it's a DLC that's walled off from the rest of the game, I don't care. I just want to be able to explore the world and see what it has to offer without feeling, like I'm being chased the whole time. Number 2 is I really want them to fix the death mechanic and make it a little bit less frustrating and just a bit more engaging and rewarding when you pull things off correctly. And number 3, just user interface improvements. Make things a little bit easier to find when you're looking for specific items or you're looking for ways to outfit your character. If you're going to rely on basically gambling with runes in order to get new items, that's fine, but you need to make that whole experience as streamlined and as fluid as possible to get people back in the game and experimenting with the new stuff that they got, as opposed to spending endless hours like worrying over spreadsheets in the game. That's not fun for me anyway. Some people it might be, not for me. Other random remarks, I really am starting to warm up to the character stories. I love the round table hold. I like some of the reveals, won't spoil anything, but I like some of the kind of progression. Like the fact that we're seeing characters move around the environment and actually do things. In Elden Ring, once a character gets to the shrine or to the round table hold, they basically just kind of hang out there and don't really do much, which is the case of Dark Souls 2 and 3 as well, with a few exceptions. Characters here are always in different places. They have different things to say, it's kind of nice to see those variations in real time, and I'd like to see more of that. So with that, I think, I know it's a bit of a shorter stream tonight, but I think that's most of what I wanted to say. Whatever remaining commentary I might have, I think I'll save for next week, and I'll do the comparison with Helldivers. And then I think the following week I'll probably do the music stream, and then maybe after that I'll do Clear Obscure, something like that. But yeah, that was nice. It was kind of nice to kind of return to the game and talk about it a little bit more with, how can I say, having a chance to play it solo. Like, so now you got both my quote-unquote review of the game, but then you also got the initial impressions, which I really enjoyed. And maybe I'll wind up doing something similar with Clear Obscure, although I wouldn't be... sorry, do you know how long is the game overall, do you think, for a first playthrough? Especially assuming that I'm going to want to do everything and see all the side quests and cutscenes and stuff like that. But I could consider doing that for a long term on the stream, or I could do a similar thing where I do an initial impressions and then I play it on my own, and then I do a final verdict, new game plus type thing. I don't know. But either way, as always, it's been amazing chatting with you guys, spending time with you. I hope you're having a great week thus far. Hope you have some fun plans for the weekend, get a chance to relax or hang out with people you care about. Let me catch up on chat here a little bit, and then I'm going to be heading out shortly. Let's see. Make the tank. Yeah, we went over that. The guy. Oh, yeah. So you can indeed find weapons that have an ice imbuement. One of them, I think the giant dragon thing, the Dragonkin soldier empowered his bracers with a frost enchantment, and that's why he was able to. It was specifically draconic frost lightning attacks that he was using. So that was really cool to see. But another character had an ability, and I had this in a previous stream too, or a previous instance or whatever, where if you press down on the sprint button, it can trigger a gust of ice to come, a storm of ice to come from your character's feet, which is really cool. What else? But yeah, you can definitely find ice-based weapons. They're some of my favorite, actually. Frostbite buildup is so effective because it does a chunk of enemies' health, and then I think it reduces their stamina regen for a while. It's very, very effective. Imagine getting shot by 30 arrows and some other sass shooting you still hasn't run out yet. Yes, exactly. I mean, I was basically just standing there tickling him with arrows from below, being come on, just die already, come on, you know you want to. It's really, really awkward. The only more awkward thing than that is me turning around to my dead companion, who's companion who's bleeding out on the floor, dying of poison and rot and lacerations and getting smashed in the fucking skull by a giant building sized scorpion. And I just shoot him in the head over and over. Come on, get back up. Why aren't you alive again? I'm shooting you right in the brain. Come on, get up. Which is, on the other hand, how the resurrection mechanic works. So this game is funny. I like it. Even short streams are fun with you, John. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm glad. I want things to be fun and engaging, so I'm glad to hear that. About 30 hours for Clear Obscure. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's something I think we can do. I mean, the whatchamacallit, the Dark Souls 2 playthrough was something like 40 hours, I think. So that's totally doable. Gonna have to figure out where to put the music stream. I might do it on the weekend so that we have more time anyway. I think this Sunday I'm gonna talk. So, with regards to Naruto, this Sunday I want to talk about Naruto versus Pain because there's been quite a few, I think, lingering misconceptions about it. I see people talking about Naruto versus Pain quite a bit, and I think there's still a couple things that I want to try to clear up. So basically, I just want to have a chill stream, no video reactions or anything, where we go through the fight and just talk about some things that I think maybe people miss sometimes. And then, similarly, one that will require a bit more research would be talking about the data books, because that's the argument that I've been having. Argument is too strong of a word. It's just sort of like a slightly intense conversation I've been having with a few people over the past month or so, is that there are folks who seem to operate under the assumption that all the databook statements are inherently valid and to be taken literally unless proven otherwise. And I disagree with that, and it's sort of tricky to articulate exactly why, but I want to use Lightspeed as an example because, you know, you've heard me whine about this before, I'm sure, but my finding is that people come to conclusions about characters being faster than light or Lightspeed based on these literal interpretations that I don't think are well-founded, but they seem very persistent and people are very passionate about it, so I want to have a dialogue about that as well. And after that, I don't know. I have to give some thought as to what other Naruto-related things that I want to discuss. I'm kind of getting to the point where I said, you know, most of the stuff that was on my mind, that was the most, like, pressing stuff that I wanted to get off my chest, so to speak. So I have to kind of think about what to talk about next. But if I run out of stuff, I'll probably switch to, like, more gaming stuff, or, you know, I can always do another debate review, or something like that. But yeah, either way, just keep on coming up with excuses to hang out with people on stream. Talk about, talk about subjects of mutual interest, and hopefully have a good time together. So with that all being said, yeah, I think I'm going to actually get to bed on time for once. I hope everybody has a great night. Take care.